Chapter 1245. As if noticing Dustless's attention, the three of them hurriedly changed their faces into good-natured expressions, looking very sunny. That stiff expression looked quite funny, causing their cheeks to flush red, making people unable to restrain their laughter. The trio of amusing trio. After sighing, Dustless shook his head and followed Junai. As for Hyodo Issei and his good friend, Dustless directly ignored them. They were just insignificant pawns. Seeing Dustless's attention on Hyodo Issei, Junai quickly changed the topic and said, "No need to care about him. He is just, that guy is very different." Dustless didn't give Junai a chance to speak and abruptly interrupted her. "What do you mean?" Junai asked with an unnatural expression. "Nothing. I just think he is fun." Dustless helplessly touched his nose and smiled awkwardly. "Who are you trying to fool?" Junai curled her lips. She naturally knew that Dustless was bullshitting. After taking a deep look at Hyodo Issei, she looked away and pointed at the large supermarket in front of them and said, "I will help you buy some daily necessities later. Don't wander around. I won't be responsible if you lose them." Dustless didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Junai's words sounded like she was talking to a 3-year-old child. "Don't worry, I will wait for you at the door. Be good people like you." Junai nodded and walked away happily. Really, looking at the gradually disappearing figure, Dustless sighed. He walked alone on the bridge, not far away, and looked down at the gurgling water below. The sparkling water reflected Dustless's silhouette. "Although it is a bit boring, this kind of life is quite suitable for me." With a peaceful smile on his face, Wu Chun moved his stiff body. A series of crackling sounds were heard, which was crisp and pleasant to the ear. "Is it really this guy? He looks so innocent." In the dense forest on the bridge, a beautiful girl was hiding. Her eyes flickered with a hidden light. After hesitating for a while, she tidied up her appearance and finally ran over. Are you Dustless?" The young girl was wearing a short skirt that exposed her white, jade-like legs. Her appearance was rather cute. "You know me?" Dustless was stunned. He was in a daze. His expression was rather surprised. He laughed in his heart and said proudly, "Sure enough, being handsome is good. Someone took the initiative to seduce me." However, the girl's next words caused Dustless to vomit blood. "Then, my name is Amano Shima. Please date me." Hearing that, Dustless's mouth twitched violently. His heart was in a haze. He naturally knew who Amano Shima was. This guy was looking for succor. "Sorry, I already have a girlfriend." Dustless's attitude was firm. He said bluntly, attacking Amano Shima mercilessly. He pointed at the direction of the supermarket and said, "My partner is Junai. We are engaged." Engaged. The girl, Amano Shima, was petrified for a few seconds. She was extremely disappointed. TSK. "Chick, you want to fight with me? Grandpa is going to kill you today." Dustless laughed sinisterly in his heart. With a teasing expression on his face, he walked around Amano Shima and teased, "Seeing that you're not bad, if you are willing to do a few things for me, I don't mind cheating on you. I will reluctantly step on your pirate ship." Hearing that, Amano Shima's heart was screaming crazily. She was shocked and angry. She didn't expect Dustless to be so shameless. Especially when he said the words reluctantly, she almost went berserk. That aggrieved expression was as if Dustless was the one who suffered a great loss. It made Amano Shima furious. It wasn't that she was narrow-minded. It was just that Dustless's words were too infuriating. His expression was as if he had suffered a great humiliation. Amano Shima almost couldn't hold back the anger in her heart. However, she immediately remembered the order from the higher-ups. Amano Shima could only hold back the anger in her heart. She pretended to be excited and said, "Tell me, I will do my best." Although she looked like that on the surface, she was extremely sullen in her heart. TSK. What are the fallen thinking about? Do they also think that I have some **T divine equipment? How childish is this world? Perhaps when I passed through the space tunnel, there was a huge explosion that attracted their attention. That's why they suspect that I have some divine equipment. That's probably why Leith took me in. Dustless saw the change in Amano-shima's expression and remembered it in his heart. But since you have chosen to continue playing, then I will play with you until you break down. Dustless sneered. A devilish smile flashed by the corner of his mouth. He walked to Amano-shima's side with a teasing smile and said, "You could be my girlfriend, but there is a condition. First, you must fulfill the responsibility of a girlfriend." Hearing that, Amano-shima's mouth twitched. Looking at Dustless's despicable smile, she wanted to slap him to death. Just when she was about to refute, Dustless sealed her excuse with a sentence. "I have already tried it with Junai. She is very obedient. If you don't even listen to me, then I'm sorry, but I don't think we will be suitable." After saying that, Dustless turned around and left. He was not afraid that Amano-shima would not agree, but he purposely slowed down his pace. This fellow can't be doing it on purpose, right? Amano-shima's face darkened. Her beautiful face was already twisted. After thinking for a while, she finally gritted her teeth and followed Dustless's footsteps. That, no matter what it is, I can promise you. If Miss Junai can do it, then I can do it too. I might even be better than her. Hearing this, the mischievous smile on Wu Chen's face became even more pronounced. Chapter 1246. Hearing this, Dustless laughed even harder. He waited for so long just to hear what Amano-shima said. It would be a pity if he didn't eat the meat that was sent to his mouth. Rubbing his chin, Dustless walked around Amano-shima and said, "First, my shoulders are a bit sore. You have to give me a massage." Amano-shima's eyes twitched a few times. She continued to force a smile and said, "This doesn't seem to be the right place. After all, we are in public. You can't just stand there and let me massage your waist and legs, right? So what if I'm standing? Can't I?" Dustless did not answer and asked back. Amano-shima was speechless. Although most of the massages were done by lying down, no one said that one could not stand. All right then. Amano-shima was helpless. She could only admit defeat. Her delicate hands went to Dustless's left and right shoulders to check. Although it's a bit rough, your technique is not bad." Dustless felt it for a while. His eyes flashed. Not bad. Some people were born to wait on others. Some special skills could be compared to professional masters without any training. Kid, you better have some value. If not, I will make you regret living in this world." Amano-shima was furious. She was so angry that she clenched her teeth. However, she could only watch helplessly. Currently, she could only listen to Dustless. "How is it? How do you feel?" Amano-shima said in a coquettish voice. She sounded cute, and her words revealed a touch of charm. She was a real vixen. If Dustless did not have the experience of a few worlds, he might have been tricked by Amano-shima. Not bad. Dustless was enjoying it. However, what he said was the complete opposite. "You forget it." Amano-shima suppressed the anger in her heart. She had no choice but to slow down her strength. "The rhythm is slow again. Then I will speed up a bit." "Why are you so clumsy?" "My cute Junai is very good at this." "Then I'll slow it down a bit. My leg hurts. I must have sprained my ankle when I fell." "Shima, help me massage it." "You want me to massage your feet?" "Yeah, that's the prerequisite to becoming my girlfriend." For more than 10 minutes, Dustless used all kinds of reasons to make things difficult for the girl. Fortunately, she had a good temper and endured some unreasonable conditions. TSK, compared to my girlfriend, you're more suitable to be my maid." After a while, Wu Chen's words made Amano-shima choke with anger. She suppressed her anger and said coquettishly, "Chun-jun, are you despising me?" Wu Chen was speechless. "Don't call me that." Glancing at Amano-shima, Dustless's tone suddenly became cold. The only person who would call him, that was Uno Hanaretsu. Those were beautiful memories, and Dustless didn't want anyone to destroy them. I understand." Amano-shima's mouth was trembling unnaturally as she said meekly. However, her heart was in turmoil. She could smell the supreme aura from Dustless's tone. At that moment, it was as if a god was right in front of her, and he could easily crush her. Hurry up and massage my arm." We will do something interesting later. Dustless's eyes were shining as he said. Just now, it was really an illusion. How can this guy be a god? Amano-shima mocked in her heart and scolded herself for being ignorant. She didn't expect that she would still have such an illusion. She opened her mouth and was about to say something. Suddenly, her lips felt cold and hot. To be more specific, it was the feeling of ice and fire fusing together. You bastard, Amano-shima was petrified. Just now when she was in a daze, Wu-chan snatched away her first kiss at an ungodly speed. What are you looking at? This is a compulsory course for you to be my girlfriend. Wu-chan laughed incomparably in his heart. That warm and cool touch just now. This time, Wu-chan felt that he had earned a lot in his heart. From Amano-shima's jerky movements and the blue veins that suddenly appeared on her forehead, Wu-chan knew that she was still a fledgling. You still want to scheme against me? I will make fun of you today. Dustless thought coldly. He turned his gaze and stared at Amano-shima's shaking meatball. His eyes were filled with cunning. Gulp! Amano-shima choked and subconsciously stepped back. She was really scared of Dustless. This guy looked like a gentleman with delicate features. However, he was actually a despicable and shameless person. Ma-chan-shi, don't you want to be my girlfriend? These are all compulsory courses. Wu-chan said unhappily with a straight face, making a very dissatisfied expression. It's too early. We are still young. Amano-shima found a lame excuse. Even she felt that it was a fantasy. So what? If we are honest with each other now, it will help us in the future. Hee. Dustless slowly approached Amano-shima and revealed a scary smile. Amano-shima had goosebumps all over her body. It seems like they are coming out. At this moment, Dustless suddenly said. When she looked over, it was Haimajima Jurai who was holding a few bags of daily necessities. Seems like Ms. Shima is still not ready. Forget it. See you next time. After saying that, Dustless turned into a gust of wind and ran away. Amano-shima was left in a daze. What is this? Amano-shima was stunned. She touched her lips and felt that her lungs were about to explode. Today, Dustless used her as a maid and ordered her around for a while. After that, her first kiss was taken away from her. What made her furious was that she did not even get a single strand of hair. Chapter 1247. Amano-shima was so angry that she stomped her feet. She was here to be Dustless's girlfriend. Who would have thought that she would be played like this? Her bones were cracking. She will probably come to me again in the future. Dustless muttered to himself. After suffering such a huge loss, Amano-shima would definitely think of a way to make up for it. Allah, Allah, Allah. Classmate Wu-chan is indeed very popular. It hasn't been long, and someone is already trying to hit on her. Junai's beautiful eyes flashed with surprise as she looked at Amano-shima's disappearing figure. Hearing this, Dustless smiled and said softly, Hitting on me? No, she's just lost in life, and I'm just giving her directions. You can't even lie to a 3-year-old kid. Junai shook her chin and didn't ask further. After all, this was Dustless's private matter. You bought so many things. Looking at the bags that Junai was carrying, Dustless frowned. Then, he took the initiative to help her carry a few bags like a gentleman. Don't take them. Seeing this, Junai immediately panicked. Unfortunately, it was too late. The bags were already taken away by Dustless. It's not a bag of money. Do you have to be so excited? Dustless muttered to himself. He subconsciously looked at the plastic bag from the corner of his eyes and vaguely saw purple clothes. So it's underwear, and it's purple. Seeing this, Dustless was enlightened. He quietly looked away and pretended that nothing had happened. Junai also took the opportunity to take the plastic bag. She said unhappily, Take this. Then, Junai threw the plastic bag that was filled with all kinds of daily necessities to Dustless. There were all kinds of daily necessities, such as toothbrushes and towels. This guy did it on purpose. Junai's face was red. She suddenly bought underwear because she liked it. She thought that would be fine even if she didn't deliberately package it. Who knew that Dustless would take it away? Hurry up and go home. Creak. The sliding door was gently pushed open, and a warm and beautiful light suddenly shone into the dark room. Dustless followed Zhu Nai into the house. Because she was a witch, the decorations in the house were relatively simple. Even so, it was still very exquisite. Dustless behaved quite casually. After walking around twice, he casually found a seat and sat down. After wandering around for a whole day, "I'm really tired," Dustless said tiredly as he stretched his back. "Very tired? If I hadn't come out in advance, you two would have been chatting happily. I feel like I've ruined your good time." Hearing this, Junai rolled his eyes and pointed to the end of the corridor. "The bathroom is there." Dustless didn't say anything. He stood up and walked over. About an hour later, Dustless came out of the bathroom, wearing a simple bathrobe. "I've just tidied up your room. It's upstairs." Zhu and I pointed at the stairs. Fearing that Dustless had a bad sense of direction, Zhu Nai walked up in advance to lead the way. Dustless followed closely behind. Seems like it's been a while. When he walked, the old wooden stairs would creak and creak. It sounded very unstable. Ka. At this moment, Zhu Nai, who was leading the way, suddenly lost her balance and stepped on the soles of her feet. Damn it, my attention was focused on this kid. Zhu Nai smiled bitterly in her heart. She knew that she was going to fall. Her attention was focused on Dustless. A moment of carelessness was destined to be a tragedy. "Be careful." Just as she was about to fall, Wu Chun caught her waist that could be said to be slender. This touch is also of the highest quality. While Junai was in a daze, Dustless touched her waist twice. The warm and cool feeling was irresistible, and then he withdrew his arm. Thank you, Dustless." Junai quickly broke free from Dustless's right arm. Her face was red like a ripe apple, extremely cute. "I'll go up myself. You should go rest too, Junai." After saying that, Dustless brushed past Junai. He was really tired. It was not until the next morning, when school started, that Dustless crawled out of bed. He did not eat dinner the night before, and only had 2 bites of breakfast in the morning. The more I live, the more backward I get. I'm going to school again. Thinking about his ridiculous experience, Dustless was speechless. He was also someone who had experienced a few worlds. He was at least 100 years old, and now he was going back to school. It was a bit funny. After school today, don't go back first. Gather at the club, Supernatural Research Lab. Ria said she had something to do. When they approached the school gate, Junai said goodbye to Dustless and walked to their respective classes. Dustless nodded slightly. Just as he was about to walk to his class, he suddenly felt a gaze filled with resentment. Strange, I don't think I've offended anyone in this world. Why would there be someone? So it's her. His eyes flashed, and Amano Shima clenched her teeth, entered his vision. Dustless laughed and ignored her. She would come to him anyway, in the brightly lit class. "Why are you only here now? Class is about to start." As soon as he stepped into the classroom, under everyone's shocked gaze, Riaz grabbed Dustless and dragged Dustless to sit beside her. "Sorry, I woke up late." Dustless scratched his head awkwardly and said embarrassedly. Then he remembered that his desk mate was Riaz. Chapter 1248. During class, Dustless could not help but doze off as he listened to the bird language that he could not understand. No matter when, he hated going to school. Before he transmigrated, he had the title of Bottom of the 10,000 Years. It was the same now. As he listened, he began to doze off. Ew. Did you die from dozing off in your previous life? Riaz was speechless. Looking at Dustless's sleeping face, she did not know whether to laugh or cry. "Dustless, wake up," Riaz said as she poked Dustless's arm. However, Dustless was obviously in a deep sleep and did not react at all. Nilia was helpless. She reached out her white hand and poked Dustless's face again. After a while, her expression was extremely unnatural. "This guy's skin is so smooth." The warm skin stunned Riaz. A hint of jealousy flashed in her beautiful eyes. She was a teenage girl, but her skin was not as good as a boy's. The soft touch had some elasticity and was very smooth. Riaz could not help but touch her own skin and compare it with Dustless's. She was shocked to find that her skin was not as good as Dustless's. It was very rough. Dustless, who was sleeping soundly, frowned. He sniffed, and a fragrance entered his nostrils. He subconsciously opened his dry lips. Her slender fingers were buried in Dustless's mouth. "Ah, damn it, it hurts," Riaz said in pain. She stood up instinctively. On her fingers, the bite marks were clearly visible. "Riaz, is there something wrong?" The teacher looked at Riaz and frowned. Hearing that, Riaz was stunned. She stuttered for a long time, but could not say anything. She could only clench her teeth and feel extremely embarrassed. "I accidentally bit her hand just now. Sorry." Dustless stood up and admitted, smiling embarrassedly. "Be careful in class next time. Sit down." Only then did Dustless and Riaz take their seats. Riaz blushed as she looked at Dustless's teasing face and said, "Are you a pig? You can sleep so well." No. I dreamt that when I was eating, I thought I was eating a chicken leg." Dustless teased. "Drumstick?" Hearing this, Riaz looked at Dustless in surprise and said with disdain, "I didn't know you were a foodie." As if remembering something, Riaz stopped talking and quickly realized that something was wrong. Dustless dreamt that he was late for the chicken drumstick. He was obviously hinting that her finger was a chicken drumstick. "You." Riaz's pretty face darkened. She did not expect to fall into Dustless's trap unknowingly. "I was praising you. Your hand made me taste like a chicken drumstick. TSK. You're amazing." Dustless praised sincerely, his face full of admiration. Hearing that, Riaz rolled her eyes in annoyance and glared at her fiercely, ignoring Wu Chen's existence. When school was over in the afternoon, in the supernatural research room, the dim light did not change and was very dim, but one could still vaguely make out a few silhouettes. Riaz Jimenez, Juno Himejima, Kitten, Yudo Kiba, and of course, Dustless with a sloppy face. The atmosphere was a little tense. Everyone was silent, and their expressions were serious. There were a few photos of various occasions on the table. Looking up, Dustless realized that he knew him too. Hyuto Issei, this scumbag king, is still being noticed. Maybe it's because of the so-called divine artifact in his body. Dustless pondered and looked at Riaz subconsciously. This little girl might have been observing Hyuto Issei for a long time. "Let's keep an eye on him for now. Don't disturb his life," Riaz said after a while. "But director, what if he's killed? But if we keep an eye on Hyuto Issei, there might be others keeping an eye on Hyuto Issei." Yudo Kiba said rationally. What he meant was that others might have their eyes on Hyuto Issei as well. "This blonde girl is quite smart." Dustless looked at Yudo Kiba in surprise. Just as Yudo Kiba said, Amano Shima of the fallen angel probably also noticed Hyuto Issei. Not only Hyuto Issei, but even Dustless himself was her target. Isn't it better if he's killed? Then he can become someone else's dependent. Plus, some people need to die once to understand some things. A cold voice broke the tense atmosphere. Looking over, it was Dustless. Hearing this, a cold smile appeared on Riaz's face as she nodded. "You have a point." Time passed quickly. When it was close to evening, it was time for school to end. The students of Kyumo Academy all went home. Dustless was no exception. However, this time he was not with Junai. Instead, he stood alone. "I'm standing at the school gate. If you can't see me, then your eyes are really blind." Wu Chun muttered to himself, saying inexplicable words. At the same time, a girl noticed Dustless's presence. Her face lit up, and she quickly ran over. "Dustless, are you waiting for me?" Amano Shima asked expectantly. She had 2 cute dimples on her face. "Of course I'm waiting for you," Wu Chun said with a smile, the corners of his mouth raised high. "Shima, this time no one will disturb us. We can continue the unfinished activity from last time." Hearing this, Amano Shima's eyelids twitched. Her eyes were filled with killing intent. However, she still nodded stiffly. "I'll accept all your orders." "Hee. I'm going to kill you this time." Dustless laughed coldly. Chapter 1249. Looking at the forced smile on the girl's face, Dustless's heart was as cold as a stone. He had no sympathy for her. If Shima Amano didn't approach him, he wouldn't have asked for a snub. Since she wanted to scheme against Dustless, then sorry. If people don't offend me, I won't offend them. If people offend me, I'll pay them back 100 times. This was Dustless's principle. Let's go, Shima-chan. Dustless smiled and pulled Shima Amano away after blowing a breath of hot air beside her ear. While pulling Shima Amano away, Dustless's fingers didn't stay idle. He carefully felt her warm and cool skin. It was like a beautiful jade. It was very comfortable to touch, and there wasn't a single flaw. It made him unable to put it down. Dustless felt more and more that he should take this seductress as his own. This guy, I'll just find a place where there's no one and kill him. He's just a nuisance to me. Shima Amano had a beautiful smile on her face, but she was cursing in her heart. In just 2 days, she had almost become Dustless's private property and was being exploited in various ways. Then, Dustless, where are we going? Shima Amano's face was red as she nervously pinched the corner of her clothes. Are we going to get a room? When she said those words, Shima Amano wanted to slap herself. Looking at Dustless's smiling face, she felt like punching him. He was even more disgusting than an enemy demon. Dustless was stunned. He stared at Shima Amano in a daze. After observing her for more than 10 seconds, he sighed softly. Get a room, my ass. She probably wants to test me. If there's the so-called magical thing in my body, she'll kill me. If there's nothing, she'll kill me. Dustless sneered as he caught the hidden killing intent in the corner of Shima Amano's eyes. He rolled his eyes and secretly planned. If I get a room with her now, this show will definitely end early. I can't do that. I haven't had enough fun yet. Dustless shook his head and refused loudly. How can that be? Am I that kind of person? I'm angry. I'm going home. Go play by yourself. Seeing this, Amano Shima's face twitched as he looked at Dustless's back view. He cursed in his heart. You're even harder to serve than the high and mighty Demon King. Amano Shima cursed madly in her heart. She was incomparably depressed. She forcefully suppressed the surging killing intent in her heart. After stomping her feet, she still resolutely chased after him. She only wanted to find a suitable place to check if there were any divine artifacts. If there weren't any, she would kill him. Now that Dustless was so uncooperative, Amano Shima could only continue to play along with him, tolerating Dustless in all aspects. In other words, she still had to continue being a maid. Dustless, I think you misunderstood me. Amano Shima, who was being toyed with, had no choice but to continue her act. Her eyes were already filled with tears as she explained with a sobbing tone, I meant to get a room. Get a room. After stammering for a long time, Amano Shima still couldn't explain herself. Compared to Dustless, who was good at flirting, she really wasn't good in this aspect. I'm going to take a bath. Amano Shima found a lame excuse and said perfunctorily, Is that so? Dustless asked suspiciously. His sharp senses detected the hatred in the depths of Amano Shima's eyes. He immediately snorted and said, I can forgive you, but you have to promise me one condition. Condition? Hearing this, Amano Shima's beautiful eyes flashed with a smear of hesitation. She was extremely wary of Dustless. Can we talk about the condition in the future? Then I'll go home. Goodbye. Without giving Amano Shima a chance to speak, Dustless turned around and left. Say it. Amano Shima was helpless. Facing Dustless, who didn't yield to force or persuasion, she naturally admitted defeat. You will definitely be able to help me. Dustless leaned towards Amano Shima's ear and said his condition. It was fine if he didn't say it. After hearing it, Amano Shima nearly fainted from anger. Impossible. I cannot accept your condition. That kind of thing is too embarrassing. We are still young. How can we do something that goes against our morals? Amano Shima persuaded with a sobbing tone. Her tears were like pear blossoms under the moon, causing one to feel pity for her. She even changed from her previous bashfulness and took the initiative to rub her warm face against Dustless. However, Dustless didn't appreciate it and was like a rock. Not only that, he even started to hum a little tune. This fellow is simply a living beast. Is he even human? I am crying so hard, but he doesn't even have any reaction. Amano Shima continued to cry, but she was already cursing Dustless in her heart. This bastard's condition was too shameless. You said that we are still young? How are we young? Is yours young or mine young? Dustless rubbed his head and pretended to be ignorant as he asked. However, the corner of his mouth curled up into a smile as if his scheme succeeded. After a while, Dustless suddenly patted his head, giving others the feeling that he suddenly woke up. Phew, this fellow is finally enlightened. Seems like he can still be saved. Seeing this, Yugon Momo let out a breath of relief. She was really afraid that Dustless would shamelessly use force. However, before she could be proud for long, Dustless's following words shattered Monoshima's hope, causing her to almost collapse. You are complaining that my place is too small. I am so sad. In order to prove my innocence, I will take it off for you to take a look. Hearing this, Monoshima immediately panicked. Her face turned red, and in front of everyone, she immediately stopped Dustless's action. Dustless doesn't care about his face, but she still wants it. This fellow. Could it be that he is purposely acting dumb in front of me? Yugon Momo's face was filled with suspicion. She instinctively felt that Dustless was doing it on purpose. Chapter 1250. Dustless's shamelessness and treachery refreshed Monoshima's understanding. Originally, when she saw his disgusted expression, she thought that although Dustless was despicable, he was still somewhat reliable. However, it seemed that she was too naive. It was a huge mistake. You can't take off your clothes. Monoshima's attitude was firm. There was no room for negotiation. Her face was as thin as paper. She wasn't like Dustless. That means you're going to agree to my condition? Dustless nodded his head firmly and smiled. This is one of the necessary lessons to become my girlfriend. Oomph. Seeing that, Monoshima snorted in her heart. Dustless's shameless condition was to use her little mouth to do those immoral things. This was obviously more serious than getting a hotel room. I can't do that. After thinking for a while, Monoshima thought, this guy really thinks that I'll listen to everything he says. He's just like a kid who hasn't grown up yet. Just at this moment, Monoshima's eyes flashed with a hint of light. The words that were about to come out of her mouth were taken back. That's not right. Isn't this the chance that I've been looking for? Monoshima's face flashed with a hint of cunning. She pursed her lips and changed her mind. She smiled and said, all right, I'll do my best to let you float to the clouds. When you fall in the end, don't fall to your death. Monoshima kept her smile and added another sentence in her heart. She had been looking for a chance to be alone with Dustless. Getting a hotel room now was the best time. Dustless wanted to take advantage of her, so she could use this chance to ask if there was any divine weapon. If there wasn't, Monoshima swore that she would let Dustless experience the cruelest way to die in the world. Hee, let's go. Dustless winked at Monoshima and smiled. However, maybe it was God who wanted to destroy Dustless's good thing. The few places that they opened were all full. Until dusk, the two of them still hadn't found a suitable place. This is an unlucky year. Dustless sat on a bench in the park and looked up at the sky. He said angrily, there's so many brothel patrons these days. That's really disappointing. Monoshima said. At the same time, she noticed that there was no one around. Her cold eyes approached Dustless. She had already decided to kill Dustless here. It didn't matter if she had a divine artifact or not. This bastard was simply too good at tormenting people. Monoshima even felt that if this continued, she would be driven crazy. I really had a good time today. Monoshima also sat on the bench and pretended to be gentle as she leaned on Dustless's body. She gently rubbed Dustless's arm with one hand while she took out a shining sharp weapon with the other hand. Therefore, in order to commemorate these few days, so, please die. Finishing her words, Monoshima stabbed towards Dustless's chest. Her method was extremely ruthless and contained boundless hatred. However, she did not go for the kill. She still wanted to torture Dustless to get back the interest. Poochie. Blood splattered everywhere. A hole was immediately pierced through Dustless's abdomen. It was badly mutilated and looked extremely frightening. One could even vaguely see all kinds of organs inside. Dustless's face also immediately became extremely pale. Damn brat, you're done for. Amano-shima laughed happily. She was very sinister and frightening. Her dancing appearance made her abnormally terrified. Seeing that you have worked so hard, I will accompany you to play. Dustless, who was originally planning to heal the wound, stopped. He pretended to be in pain and said, I have not treated you badly. Why are you so cruel? Not treated me badly? Hearing this, Amano-shima almost fell down. These few days, she was completely like an animal being ordered around by Dustless. This bastard was now shamelessly saying that he had not treated her badly. Cough, cough, please let me go. Dustless's tone was incomparably weak. It was as if he was begging for mercy. Actually, he was looking forward to what would happen next. He wanted to see how this fallen angel was going to show her other side of charm. I will definitely not let you die so easily. I will let you live a life that is worse than death. Also, looking at your useless appearance, you don't even have a divine equipment. Amano-shima curled her lips and said in disdain. Staring at this extremely annoying little face, Amano-shima's flame index sword. Her Chuan was already snatched away by Dustless. Killing him casually would be too much of a loss. Brat, aren't you very lustful? Thinking about Dustless's character, Amano-shima's exquisite little face had an evil smile. Hearing this, Dustless frowned. Looking at Amano-shima's sickly smile, he suddenly felt that there was something wrong with this woman's head. She might be able to think of all kinds of crazy ideas. Originally, I wanted to play house with you. However, the opponent is actually a pervert. Looks like I should just forget about it. Dustless's mood was waning. Ignoring the wounds on his body, he had already stood up. Amano-shima was startled. Veins popped out on her forehead. Without a doubt, the pervert that Dustless was talking about was her. She turned her gaze. When she looked at Dustless with a gaze as sharp as a knife, the wounds on his body had already healed. The mangled wounds were no longer there. What replaced them was bright and clean skin. The playful expression in her eyes also disappeared. Dustless's expression gradually turned cold. The cold light in his eyes directly affected the changes in the surrounding air. A suffocating pressure filled the air. Since I have nothing to do, I wanted to play with you. However, since you have already destroyed the rules of the game, there is no need for me to continue to abide by them. After saying that, the light on Dustless's right arm floated. The golden Kusanagi sword condensed and formed. Chapter 12:51. Amano-shima felt that all the secrets in her life were exposed under Dustless's eyes. Her entire body was seen through. Even the most secretive part of her body was no exception. What kind of eyes are those? Sensing the abnormality in Dustless's eyes, Amano-shima's soul felt as if it was struck by lightning. She retreated unconsciously. However, Amano-shima stopped her footsteps very quickly. Those two pitch-black eyes were like the eyes of God that occupied the top of her head. No matter if she ran to the end of the world or to the end of the world, it seemed that as long as Dustless thought about it, she would immediately perish. Damn it. My brain must have been damaged by this fella for the past 2 days. Why would I have such an illusion? He is not a god. Amano-shima shook her head vigorously. She treated the thought just now as an illusion. The person in front of her was just a good-looking man who liked to tease others. At the same time, he was also a lecherous man. You still want to struggle? It seems like you're not ready. Amano-shima's hand was glowing. A light spear was held in her hand. How ignorant is this little girl these days? Dustless was too lazy to argue with her. As the saying goes, if you are serious, you will lose. There was no need to be angry with a little girl. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. A gust of wind suddenly came from the front. Dustless raised his eyebrows. Before he had the time to take a look, an ice-cold, strong light suddenly pierced towards him. Go to hell. Her strong body was filled with an indescribable divine light. Her attack was ruthless and merciless as she pierced towards Dustless. TSK, TSK. Do you hate me so much? Do you have to destroy my face? Dustless said helplessly. He then waved the Kusanagi sword in his hand. Golden ripples splashed in midair. The light spear that was coming towards him immediately had an unavoidable change. Pucci. The light pierced through the spear and split it into two easily. Dustless's casual look gave people the feeling that he was having a meal. This Amano-shima was dumbfounded. He said this 3 times in a row. His pupils dilated, and he was so shocked that he was speechless. Swish! Swish! Facing the violent hurricane, Amano-shima floated in the air, his 2 black wings flapping vigorously. Does this guy really have some kind of powerful divine artifact in his body? Amano-shima cried out in alarm. Her intestines were green with regret. Moreover, judging from Dustless's current fighting strength, he was already able to completely control the divine artifact in his body. I have to kill him, or I'll be finished. The expression in Shima Amano's eyes changed rapidly, and he sentenced Dustless in his heart. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Her jade-like hand shook, and the broken light spear on the ground began to vibrate. Then, under Amano-shima's control, it flew back and healed itself. Looking at the calm Dustless, his bottomless strength not only didn't make Shima Amano stop, but instead aroused her savage nature. Swish! Swish! This time, the number of spears of light that were descending had increased dramatically, causing Shima Amano's anger to rise. Boring. Seeing this, Dustless's mind was already waning. He released a repulsive force from his body and knocked away all the spears of light. Shinra Tensei. The repulsive force formed a perfect defense circle that resisted everything. This kind of insignificant attack was naturally not affected at all. Bang, bang, bang. The spears of light that wanted to punch a hole in Dustless were all bounced away by the absolute defense and fell to the ground powerlessly. I'll just retreat. Shima Amano, who realized the gap between them, was helpless. She flapped her wings even faster. Since she couldn't win, she would only be humiliating herself if she stayed, so she might as well run. Did I say you can leave? When Shima Amano flapped her wings and left, Dustless's cold voice sounded. He stared at Shima Amano and circled her. You can leave, but at least leave something behind. Oomph. Arrogant. Shima Amano's beautiful eyes were hazy. She came here full of confidence, but in the end, she had to run away pathetically. Her heart was already bursting with anger. Now, Dustless ignited the fire in her heart again. She screamed, "So what if I don't come down? If you can fly to the sky and catch me, you can take anything from me." As soon as she finished speaking, Shima Amano suddenly felt that her body was much lighter. Just when she was about to speak, her throat felt like it was blocked by someone. It was hard for her to speak. Shima Amano, who realized that something was wrong, quickly widened her eyes. Her beautiful eyes instantly reflected Dustless's face. She saw Dustless's right arm locking Shima Amano's throat. Like a rabbit, he simply grabbed her in the air. "Let go of me." Shima Amano's mind went cold for a few seconds. She struggled with all her might and shook her entire body. But what made Shima Amano collapse was that Dustless wasn't moved at all. He was like a towering mountain. Her weak strength wasn't enough to move him at all. Dustless maintained his calm. After staring at Shima Amano's flushed face for a long time, he said softly, "The game is over." "Not yet." Shima Amano's eyes flashed with a trace of cunning. Her 2 wings were like a huge hand that smashed over with a silver spear. Light spear. Looking at the incoming spear, Dustless praised, "It's good to be able to prepare for a rainy day. Unfortunately, you're still too weak." At such a close distance, Dustless didn't even dodge. When the spear tip was about to destroy his eyes, it stopped. Don't play this kind of child's game in the future. You've already grown up. Dustless lectured as he easily caught the light spear. TSK, you're now my trophy. You said that I can take anything from you if I catch you. Then I won't be polite. Chapter 1252. Amano-shima's face turned black. She was defeated by Dustless's overwhelming strength. She felt extremely aggrieved. Both of them were from 2 different dimensions. especially Dustless's words just now. It made her even more fearful. She already had someone she liked. If she was forced by Dustless, Amano Shima's body trembled when she thought of this. Her face was filled with fear and lingering fear. She was already in despair, but when she thought of the seriousness of the matter, she started to resist again. Light spear. Silver light flickered between his hands, and a slender long spear instantly condensed and took shape. Whoosh! Gritting her teeth, Amano Shima used all her strength to control the light spear and threw it out. Clang! 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 The delusion of flipping the cards was beautiful, but the reality was extremely cruel. Facing Dustless's absolute strength, Amano Shima had no strength to resist at all. Her attack was like cotton and had no effect on Dustless. The scene was exactly the same as before. The light spear was caught by Silver Sky. Ka! 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 In the end, with a little bit of strength, the sturdy light spear turned into broken glass and scattered with the wind like snowflakes. Kiki. From today onwards, you are my slave. Oh no. From today onwards, you are my servant. Dustless smiled and changed his words. He stared at Amano Shima's voluptuous body without restraint. I already have someone I like. Even if you can get my body, you can forget about getting my heart. I advise you to, who want your heart? Don't be too self-righteous. Dustless curled his lips in disdain and sneered. I am not interested in your broken heart. Coincidentally, I am only interested in your body. As for your heart, it is good that it is broken. Hearing this, the veins on Amano Shima's forehead popped out. Her killing intent was everywhere. Her endless grievances seemed to have touched the heavens. In an instant, the heavens seemed to be standing on Amano Shima's side. Whoosh! Whoosh! Her wings flapped lightly, and a few light spears rolled out from her back. Disappear! Amano Shima gritted his teeth and said. Soon after, numerous spears rained down like a torrential rain. This fellow, if I don't teach her a lesson, she'll really think that I'm a gentleman who cares about women. After being continuously provoked, Dustless gradually became angry. He didn't know when to advance or retreat, and he knew when to stop. Everything had a bottom line. Shinra Tensei. Bang, bang, bang. The repulsive force surged and once again easily deflected the attacking radiance. Dustless's eyes flickered with destructive radiance. Just as he was planning to ruthlessly destroy Amano Shima, a sudden change occurred. Pucci. An unexpected sound of a body being cut into pieces suddenly rang out. Amano Shima and Dustless were both stunned, and their gazes looked over at the same time. It would have been better if they didn't look. Once they did, Dustless and Amano Shima were petrified. F***, what's going on? I didn't do it on purpose, Brother Chung. Looking over, a young man's abdomen was pierced with a light spear, and he was killed mercilessly on the spot. Even Dustless, who had excellent vision, couldn't see the destroyed internal organs. And the most ridiculous thing was that this person was actually Hata Issei. It can't be so coincidental. Dustless was sweating profusely, and he couldn't help but feel speechless. He's actually dead, Amano Shima said in a daze. Hata Issei was also one of the people she had to pay attention to. Look, it's all your fault. You actually killed my classmate. Dustless shamelessly poured dirty water on Amano Shima and stayed out of it. I killed him. Hearing this, Amano Shima was furious. Her beautiful eyes were burning with flames, and her breathing became abnormally heavy. If it wasn't for the difference in strength, she really wanted to bite Dustless to death. This guy was lying through his teeth. So what if I killed him? He's just a piece of trash that isn't worth mentioning. Amano Shima snorted and didn't care at all. Although the main culprit who killed Hata Issei was Dustless, the light spear that pierced through his abdomen was made by Amano Shima. It's good that you admit it. Hearing this, Dustless smiled mysteriously and suddenly let go of Amano Shima's hand. Good chance. Amano Shima's hidden strength was completely unleashed. She broke free from Dustless's grasp and flew towards the sky. Run for your life. Glancing at the disappearing figure, Dustless didn't chase after her. He still needed a monoshima to be the scapegoat. Finally here, looking at the ground, a fluorescent light appeared on the ground. It was a special magic circle, and two figures came out from it. Yo, Ria's Junai. Dustless raised his hand and smiled. Pointing at Hada Issei, who was lying in a pool of blood, he said painfully, "Sorry, Director, I'm useless. Although I defeated the culprit who attacked Hada Issei, I couldn't catch her. In the end, Issei still. Sorry, it's all my fault. The person who killed him is a fallen angel, called a monoshima. It's not your fault." Seeing Dustless admitting his mistake, Ria smiled and waved her hand. It happened so suddenly that it was unavoidable. Plus, it's just a small matter. You even managed to find out about the enemy. This is still a contribution, so you need to be rewarded. Ria's smile was like a flower. Her bell-like smile was very pleasant to listen to. It was her principle to reward those who contributed. Dustless's heart twitched when he heard this. He was thinking about the reward that Ria's mentioned, but the words that were on the tip of his tongue came back to him. He would be an idiot if he didn't take advantage of the situation. Looking at the dead Hada Issei on the ground, Dustless secretly gave himself a thumbs up. I'm helping you again. In the future, you will be able to control the divine equipment in your body. You should thank me. Chapter 1253. Dustless naturally didn't feel guilty. Maybe it was because he had done a lot of bad things, but Dustless could face something as trivial as going against his conscience. Reward? What kind of reward? Dustless couldn't help but stare at Ria's voluptuous body. He suddenly remembered one of her special habits, and a strange smile appeared on his face. Director! At this moment, two concerned voices were heard. So it's them. Dustless's brain was working at full capacity when he saw Kiba Yudo and Kitten. Director, this Hyuta Kazunari is too dangerous. Why don't we let him become someone else's dependent? Dustless suggested with a chuckle. Makes sense. Junai Hao was on the same side as Dustless, and he also supported this suggestion. Ria's Hyuta Issei's reputation is indeed bad, so it's necessary to take proper precautions. We all know what kind of person he is. Your habit of sleeping in the nude and wearing revealing clothing needs to be changed. That's right. Zhu Naihao is right. Dustless nodded and looked at Zhu Naihao's serious face. He secretly gave him a thumbs up. This was exactly what he wanted. Hyuta Kazunari should just die. This, no problem. I'll remember. A look of approval flashed across Ria's face. She then nodded silently, agreeing with Wu Chun and Junai's thoughts. Oh, right. Dustless's eyes flashed with a cunning look, and he said, Ria's Hyuta Kazunari is known as the gourmet devil. He is a complete pervert. Ria's frowned and looked at Dustless suspiciously. She felt that there was a hidden meaning in his words. If you have something to say, just say it, Lias said. Hearing this, Dustless looked at him strangely, nodded, and said, What I mean is, let Hyuta Kazunari become someone else's dependent. It doesn't have to be a director, for example, Kiba's dependent. Dustless said with a smile as he looked at Issei in the pool of blood. If you don't mind, I'm fine with it as well. Kiba Yudo seemed to be used to being submissive. After a slight smile, he agreed. No. Ria shook her head stubbornly. Her firm and high-spirited tone made it seem like she was determined to get Hyodo Kazunari. Let it become my dependent. I will pay attention to certain details in the future. Wuchen opened his mouth, but eventually shut it. After all, Liyasi was the department head, and he had no right to interfere with other people's decisions. If he insisted on it, he would be hated by the other party. Without any hindrance, Hyodo Kazunari successfully became a reincarnated demon in Ria's kin. Time passed quickly, and it was evening in the blink of an eye. On the way home, Dustless and Junai walked side by side. Dustless, you seem to have a problem with Hyodo Kazunari. Junai broke the silence and smiled at Dustless. Her graceful figure was particularly eye-catching, especially her breathtaking curves, which made Dustless a little dazed. Are you trying to seduce me? Dustless's imagination ran wild. At the same time, he said righteously, I'm worried about your safety. After all, that guy isn't a rock a mad demon. Is that so? Junai blinked her bright eyes. She was obviously suspicious, but after noticing that Dustless's expression was normal, she did not ask further. But, Dustless, you are really good to be able to defeat that fallen angel. After a while, Junai suddenly changed the topic. Just an insignificant, low-level, fallen angel. With his hands on his head, Dustless looked left and right. He was bored. Insignificant? Junai heard his words and rolled her eyes at Dustless. In the end, she also laughed at herself. Different realms meant that their worldviews were different. The two talked and laughed on the way home. After a while, they slowly reached home. Dinner was still made by Junai. Dustless did not have the attribute of cooking, so everything was done by Junai. Perhaps because Junai was too tired, after dinner, she took a shower and quickly went to sleep. At night, Dustless, who was lying in bed, was quite bored. He tossed and turned and could not sleep for a long time. Through the window, he stared blankly at the stars in the sky. I'll find a chance to cripple Hyodo Kazunari. A cold, murderous intent flashed in his eyes. Dustless closed his eyes again. At this time, a dark red light suddenly swept across the ground. A pattern flashed out of thin air, as red as blood. It looks like a magic circle. Squinting his eyes, Dustless instantly understood what it was, and at the same time, he also thought of who it was. That looks like Ria's. Dustless lifted the blanket and looked curiously at the magic circle. But this time, he was destined to be disappointed. The person who came out of the magic circle was a silver-haired woman of great beauty. Why is she looking for me? She shouldn't have any connections. Dustless was surprised. This world was full of beauties, and the silver-haired woman in front of him was one in a million. Not only that, but she was also wearing a maid's uniform. Her perfect and delicate face was flawless. My name is Gilifia. I think we can have a serious discussion about some issues. The beautiful maid's breath was fragrant, and her seductive movements were especially enchanting. Chapter 1254. A serious question? Hearing this, Dustless was even more confused. He looked at the curvaceous Julia in confusion. Even though she was already a married woman, her beautiful face was still no different from a lively young girl. Her white skin was faintly discernible, with a hint of red in it. She had a noble and cold temperament, with the temperament of a queen. This girl, Dustless frowned. A hint of displeasure flashed in his eyes. He sensed a hint of command in Julia's tone, like the disdain of a noble toward a commoner. Dustless's heart turned cold. Sorry, I'm going to sleep. There's no need to discuss anything with you. Dustless waved his hand and asked her to leave. You! Hearing this, Julia's face froze. This was the first time in her life that she was treated like this, especially after becoming the wife of the Demon King and receiving the title of Silver-Haired Queen of Annihilation. No one dared to talk to her with such a perfunctory attitude. If you want to discuss something with me, that's fine. But as the saying goes, a guest has to follow the host's wishes. Since you're in my house, you have to follow the rules. Dustless gave a weird smile and took a step back. Your house. This is the house of Rias's kin, Haimajima Jirai. You really think I don't know anything? Mercilessly exposing Dustless's lie, Julia suddenly felt that Dustless was very interesting. She then said generously, Fine, tell me your conditions. Consider it a gift from me. So straightforward, Dustless was stunned. He just said it casually and didn't have any other intentions. Tell me why you're here. You owe me a favor. No problem. Julia nodded elegantly and went straight to the point. Why did you purposely let that fallen angel go? I was just passing by, and I saw everything clearly. You accidentally killed Issei Hudo, and after that, you hid it from Ryaz and lied that Issei Amano was the one who killed Issei Hudo. What is your goal? Towards the end, Gilifia's tone took a sharp turn and became much colder. Dustless could even feel the cold air around him. So you're here to condemn me. Hearing this, Dustless's eyes flashed with a trace of disappointment. He then lay on the bed and sighed. Do you really want to hear the truth? Of course. After frowning, Gilifia nodded firmly. Issei Hyuga is an otaku. How can my lovely department head be tarnished by those wretched eyes? It was only right to kill him. However, the minister still took that pervert as his dependent. Dustless couldn't find a good excuse to beat around the bush. Although this reason is far-fetched, but glancing at Dustless for a few seconds, Giliphius said, "It's barely acceptable. Why did you let that fallen angel go?" Remembering Dustless's strength, Gilifia continued to ask. She saw how Dustless killed a Monoshima with overwhelming strength. A pawn will always be a pawn. Killing her is pointless. However, after I let her go, Rias arrived. I think with the minister's strength, she could have caught up to her if she had chased after her, but you chose to ignore it. That means I did the right thing. Dustless still found a lame excuse. Is that so? I think you took a liking to someone else and purposely let her go. Gilifia glanced at Dustless and exposed his lie. This is a big problem. As Rias dependent, I have the right to ask. Then what do you plan to do? Dustless rubbed his chin playfully as he spoke with a teasing tone. This is a very serious question. Gilifia saw Dustless's sloppy attitude and his aggressive gaze, which made her extremely uncomfortable. She immediately emphasized, "Please correct your attitude. This is not a joke. Remember that you are Rias Jaimanri's dependent. You can represent. Are you joking? You're looking for trouble with me, and you want me to correct my attitude?" Rudely interrupting Gilifia, Dustless did not stop laughing. Instead, he became even more arrogant. Gilifia had always been a serious person, and she always maintained a poker face in front of everyone. Hearing that, a sinister light appeared behind Gilifia, and a dense fog floated out. She instantly became like an ice queen, filled with murderous intent. This is magic power? Carefully sensing the surging energy behind Gilifia, Dustless nodded. It was indeed more powerful than Rias. Seeing that you're the sister-in-law of the minister, go back. I can let bygones be bygones this time. You're not my match, so don't humiliate yourself. Lying down on the bed again, Dustless crawled under the blanket and waved his hand, indicating that Gilifia could leave. However, this action did not earn Gilifia's gratitude. Instead, it angered her. Dustless's words clearly implied that he treated her as an insignificant character. To put it bluntly, she was a clown that could be easily destroyed. He did not care about her at all. We live in different worlds. Things that you think are impossible are as insignificant as dust in my eyes. Things that you think can only be done by the Demon King are within reach of me. I have the power to turn something rotten into something magical. Dustless said seriously. His hoarse voice was filled with magnetism. His tone was slow, and his expression was also very serious. Gilifia could not help but laugh out loud. Dustless's serious monologue sounded like a joke in Gilifia's ears. If that's the case, why don't we have a competition? Chapter 1255. Duel? Hearing this familiar yet strange word, Dustless couldn't help but stare blankly for a moment. After roaming the various dimensions for so many years, Dustless had always stood at the peak of the heavens in every world. It wasn't that there were no challengers, but most of them were extremely powerful. A woman like Gilifia was extremely rare, perhaps even non-existent. There are always people who don't know when to stop. Dustless, who had just laid down, stood up again and stared at Gilifia for a while with a cunning glint in his eyes. You want to duel? Sure, but I don't like doing meaningless things. If you want to duel with me, at least bring out some sort of prize. Staring at Gilifia's curvaceous body, Dustless pursed his lips, not hiding the lust in his eyes. Even though Gilifia was pregnant and getting on in age, Dustless couldn't see any traces of aging in her perfect body. Everything seemed to have been sculpted by the heavens. Dustless really couldn't find any flaws. Prize? What's that? Gilifia's beautiful eyes flashed with doubt as she asked in confusion. Even so, she was already a wife and wasn't completely inexperienced. She naturally understood Dustless's undisguised gaze. You're quite bold. Don't you know who I am? Gilifia clenched her fists, the veins on her jade-white forehead pulsing. It's best if you understand, but it doesn't matter if you don't agree. Otherwise, I won't duel with you. You don't even have a gift to move me. Do you think there's a need for a boring duel? And the result is even more boring. It's a one-sided duel. Wu Chun put on an appearance of a dead pig that was not afraid of boiling water. It looked like he was going to drill into the quilt again. This guy, Gilifia, clenched her teeth, her expression turning uglier and uglier. Dustless's last few words, one-sided duel, hurt her dignity. No matter what, she was still the wife of the Demon King, famous throughout the world. Now, she was being looked down upon by a brat who hadn't even grown out his hair yet. Even if she wanted to laugh it off and tell herself not to get angry with a child, she was still furious at Dustless. If you can defeat me, I'll fulfill all your conditions. Gilifia, who was in a hurry to teach Dustless a lesson, said. Dustless was Riaz's kin, and she could beat him half to death to teach him an unforgettable lesson. Otherwise, if he dared to take advantage of her today, he might ride on her husband's head in the future. That's what I'm waiting for. The smile on Wu Chen's face was even wider. Combined with his handsome face, it made people's hair stand on end. Even Gilifia furrowed her brows. She suddenly felt an unprecedented sense of uneasiness. She even had the misconception that Dustless was only wearing human skin. If he were to take off that disguise, he would become a peerless demon king through and through. Looks like I've been working too hard recently. How could I have such a funny illusion? He's just a brat who hasn't grown up yet. There's no need to be nervous. The one who should be afraid is this brat, not me. Gilifia consoled herself. Even so, she still couldn't let it go. The intense pressure that lingered in her heart was definitely not unfounded. It was an unfathomable power that was looking down on her, as if it could crush her with a single thought. Let's go somewhere else. This place isn't suitable for a duel. Suppressing the uneasiness in her heart, Gilifia returned to her usual cold demeanor. There's no need to leave. Let's settle it here. Dustless shook his head and refused. He really didn't have the time to go out and duel in the middle of the night. It would be better for him to have a quiet sleep. You're not going? So you're giving up? Gilifia's beautiful eyes narrowed. She immediately understood Dustless's intentions and said coldly, It would have been fine if you were willing to admit defeat, but it's too late now. You've angered me. Even if you admit defeat, you'll have to pay a heavy price. Ah, is that so? Then you really are a narrow-minded woman. But you're wrong this time. I won't admit defeat, and I won't lower my head to a woman. Dustless smiled at Gilifia's indifferent tone and retorted coldly, I don't want to go somewhere else, because there's no need to. Dustless's eyes began to change. 3 jade carvings appeared in his pitch-black eye sockets. They slowly rotated and devoured Gilifia's mind. What do you mean? Gilifia instinctively retreated. Even when she regained her senses, she didn't know why she retreated. You still don't understand? Because there's no need to. The 3 Tomo Sharingan began to rotate at an even faster speed. Gilifia's restlessness became even more intense as a mysterious force invaded her mind. You'll be eliminated instantly, so there's no need to go through so much trouble. Gilifia's mind buzzed as soon as he said that. She completely lost consciousness and fell to the ground. She could only barely retain her consciousness as she looked helplessly at the world in front of her. She felt a warm and broad body hugging her. The eye power of the 3 Tomo Sharingan can easily defeat Gilifia without the slightest effort. Miss Gilifia, as I've said, you're out of the game in an instant. So, please keep your word and agree to all my conditions. I'm very tired right now, and I want to sleep, so my request is simple. Sleep with me immediately. Remember, like Riaz, I like to sleep naked, and the person who sleeps with me must not wear clothes either. Chapter 1256. Gilifia was dumbfounded. Her beautiful eyes were shrouded in a layer of shadow, losing their luster. Dustless's fiery eyes almost melted her, especially when she was locked in Dustless's arms, unable to move. That masculine scent made her both embarrassed and angry. Let me go. I'm the wife of Demon King Sizax, and also Riaz's MMM. However, Before Gilifia could finish her sentence, Dustless impatiently covered her mouth with his hand. TSK, TSK. This taste is not bad. Married women are sometimes more perfect and emotional. After a while, Dustless retracted his mouth and enjoyed it. Savoring the lingering fragrance in his mouth, the light in his eyes became even brighter. His eyes that seemed to want to devour her made Gilifia's soul tremble. She looked at Dustless in fear. She never thought that this young man who looked like he was in his teens would be so terrifying. His strength was so strong, and his personality was so strange. Someone like the Demon King would never do something so vulgar. Let me go. Aren't you afraid of the Demon King's revenge? Gilifia warned, the meatball in front of her swaying. Clearly, she was still afraid of Dustless. Demon King? What the hell is that? Ignoring Gilifia's words, Dustless's eyes seemed to have the ability to see through everything. Gilifia's body was clearly exposed under Dustless's eyes. You're my liking. Be my wife. Oh no, I hate your noble queen-like personality. So be my slave. Dustless changed his words with a smile. His expression looked frivolous, but his eyes never changed from staring at Gilifia. You're not the high and mighty Demon King's wife? So what? I'll make you the lowliest slave and crush your confidence. Are you crazy? Gilifia was shocked. Her expression changed drastically. She could already feel Dustless's restless hands, and she began to struggle with all her strength. Kneel. With a groan, Dustless coldly ordered and directly threw Gilifia out. Although he liked Gilifia, he wasn't interested in her who always put on a sour face. He needed to change her personality. She could change with others, but not with Dustless. In front of others, she is the saintess that everyone admires. In private, she is the one who charms the common people. Dustless felt a burst of excitement as he thought of this. Dream on. I won't boom boom boom. A majestic aura swept out, and Gilifia, who was just about to stand up, was once again suppressed. She was forced to the ground by the majestic energy fluctuations in an instant, her knees touching the ground as large beads of cold sweat poured down like a rainstorm. Ka. Gilifia's clothes were torn to shreds by the brutal force, and her private parts were exposed to Dustless's gaze. Miss Gilifia, do you still have the dignity of the Demon King's wife? Squatting down, Dustless looked down at Gilifia, who was crawling on the ground, and said with a wicked smile. His sneaky eyes were frightening. Gilifia stared at Dustless in horror. Her heart, which had been calm for so many years, instantly collapsed. Bastard! What kind of monster is this guy? Is he also a Demon King? Gilifia choked with sobs, her throat moving up and down. Her mouth was filled with cold air after the shock. Suppressing an enemy with his aura alone seemed to be something that even a Demon King couldn't do. All the female creatures in this world didn't seem to care much about chastity. Although Gilifia was angry that Dustless stripped her naked, she was more concerned about whether she would be violated. Looking at him a few more times wouldn't kill her. Sooner or later, Dustless would pay the price. Perhaps that was what Gilifia thought. You're right, I am one of the new Demon Kings. How about it? Are you willing to give up the darkness and join the light? Dustless suddenly changed the topic and grabbed Gilifia's chin. You really are a Demon King? Gilifia's tone clearly raised a notch. If Dustless really was a Demon King, then everything would change drastically. Yes and no. Dustless gave an ambiguous answer. Although Dustless wasn't a demon, he had reached the level of a Demon King many years ago. Let alone a Demon King. Even if a group of gods came to invade, Dustless wouldn't fear them. In other words, even if this guy isn't a Demon King, he can at least fight one. Gilifia's eyes shone. She had a vague idea of Dustless's strength. Moreover, her tone had clearly changed. As expected, all creatures have to bow before absolute power. Dustless noticed the subtle change in Gilifia's tone. A sly smile flashed in his eyes. This little girl wants to rope me in. Dustless saw the change in Gilifia's eyes and could even hear her heavy breathing. He immediately understood her intentions. If a powerful being who could contend against the Demon King were to join Sigmund's faction, it would mean that his status would rise as well. TSK, you want to rope me in? Staring at Gilifia's perfect features, Dustless didn't mince his words. You can hire me, but the price is that you become my slave. Now, show me your sincerity, or I'll join Syzax's faction at any time. Chapter 12:57. Gilifia's expression darkened as she looked at Dustless's frivolous smile. There was no doubt that he was being serious. Does this guy even have the demeanor of an expert? He actually haggled over such a small matter with me. He doesn't have the slightest bit of magnanimity. Moreover, his conditions are so vulgar. He is no different from an ordinary hooligan. Lying on the ground naked, Gilifia felt much more relaxed. Just now, she was pinned to the ground by Wu Chun and couldn't move. Her whole body was almost stuck to the ground. Now, she felt much more relaxed. The haze that shrouded her heart was also swept away. Her breathing was much smoother. However, she could only crawl on all fours like an animal. She tried to stand up, but the majestic pressure forced her to crawl on the ground again. This bastard is definitely doing this on purpose, definitely. Gilifia's face alternated between green and white. Despite her unwillingness, she was powerless to retort. She even had a fawning expression on her face. Only an idiot would offend a powerful demon king for some trifles for no reason. In fact, it was the same in every world. The powerful could trample on everything without any qualms. They didn't need to care about other people's feelings, just like Dustless. The weak were destined to become the bargaining chips of the powerful. Sometimes they had to endure being slapped in the face, even if it meant breaking their teeth. Gilifia could only endure all kinds of unfair treatment because she was too weak. Pa! A crisp sound rang out. If it wasn't for Dustless's soundproof barrier, even Zhu and I would have heard it. Gilifia suddenly felt a sharp pain in her lower body. She subconsciously looked over and saw a glaring red claw mark left behind by Dustless. The breasts that were attacked were her pride and joy. Are you going to run or not? Wu Chun asked impatiently. His tone was filled with irritation as he threatened, Don't exhaust my patience. You can't bear the consequences. Take out something that can please me, and I can help you unify the world. The consequences of angering me will be the opposite, just like now. Crack, crack, crack. Dustless suddenly clenched his fist. The untouchable void was like a mirror that was easily crushed by Dustless. Just what level is this guy at? Gilifia's heart was in turmoil. Her eyes were wide open. I understand. Gilifia eventually relented. She got on all fours and circled around Dustless's feet twice. She didn't have the strength to resist, and the result would be even worse. Dustless would mercilessly destroy her body and soul. Haha, aren't you the Demon King's wife? I hate people like you who think too highly of themselves. Dustless was secretly pleased. In fact, he liked Gilifia very much. This kind of woman was very loyal and capable, but the only thing he couldn't accept was that she was too domineering and had high expectations of herself. She might only have Demon King Syzax in her eyes. Dustless didn't have absolute confidence in taking her down without destroying her confidence. The first step was to shatter her confidence and make her realize her own value. Only then would everything be solved. Stop right there. A hint of mockery flashed across Dustless's face as he teased. Be more serious for me. I'm going to ride you right now. Ride me? Don't mess around. Hearing this, Gilifia's thoughts went astray. Her face turned pale, and her clothes barely covered her body as she trembled. Don't move. Do you think you can resist if I wanna? Dustless mocked. Then his body suddenly lost gravity and floated up onto Gilifia's jade-white back. Run 2 laps. Dustless looked up and said coldly. Gilifia had no choice but to use her hands and knees to slowly swim around Dustless's hut. Gilifia didn't feel any discomfort when a human suddenly appeared on her back. In fact, she didn't even feel anything. The only thing she found hard to accept was that she was naked while a human was riding her and giving orders. Just thinking about it made her face turn red. You can't take the initiative to confess such a shameful thing. Dustless noticed Gilifia's embarrassment and only smiled without saying anything. That was to be expected. No one would be able to talk about something like that. Stop. A few minutes later, Wu Chun, who felt bored, stood up and threw a piece of clothing to Gilifia, hinting her to put it on. Now it's time to talk business. You'll be one of my maids from now on. Stay away from Sazax. If I hear anything bad about him, I'll join whoever has the worst relationship with Sazax. Revealing a hint of viciousness, Dustless threatened. Gilifia sighed lightly and finally nodded elegantly. Her words and actions always carried a noble air, but combined with her smile that was uglier than bitterness, she looked rather bitter and sad. Also, tell Riaz that Hyoto Kazunari isn't a good person. Stay away from him. All right, that's all. You can go back now. Hearing that, Gilifia's dispirited spirit was swept away, and a glimmer of hope appeared in her eyes as she came up with a plan. This guy is very powerful, and it seems like he's interested in Riaz. If I can get them to marry, it'll indirectly mean I have another demon king to help me. Gilifia was no fool. She realized the stakes and hurriedly left. Chapter 1258. Some things are just like that. Since one could not fight back, one could only take it in silence. Since one could not go against the flow, one could only turn the disadvantageous situation to one's advantage. As for whether it was fair or not, Gilifia did not even think about it. Whoever had the bigger fist had the final say. That was the only law that had not changed since the beginning of time. Take and be taken, that was the most realistic portrayal of the current world. I can marry Lise off to that guy. An idea flashed through Gilifia's mind as she pursed her lips into a mesmerizing smile. As for Phoenix, I can only say that I'm sorry. Thinking of Phoenix, Gilifia could only apologize. The strong preyed on the weak, and since Dustless was more suitable, Phoenix was destined to be eliminated. The strong preyed on the weak. That was also an absolute law that would never change. It would be best if he could marry into the Gimli family. That way, everything would change. Gilifia's eyes sparkled as she suddenly felt that this was a very good deal. Compared to scum like Phoenix, Dustless was more suitable for Lise. But that guy actually dared to. Gilifia was furious when she thought about how Dustless had seen everything of her body. Especially when she was being ridden around by Dustless. She felt even more humiliated. Forget it. The strong call the shots in this world. Women are just insignificant clothes to some powerful people. If they get dirty or torn, they can change into another one anytime. No one will care. Gilifia laughed bitterly at herself as she chose to forget everything that had just happened and endure it in silence. So what if she told her husband, the current demon king Sazax Gimli? It would not be of any use. Whether or not he could beat Dustless was a problem. Moreover, Gilifia would not be able to tell him. If the truth were to be revealed, Sazax would not be able to hold his head up high. The title of being a cuckold would spread to every corner of the world, and she would be looked down on in the future. Time passed by slowly. When she realized it, it was already the next morning. Life is truly unpredictable. The young man in the uniform sighed. The young man in the school uniform sighed and looked over. It was Dustless who was yawning with a sleepy face. At this moment, he was on his way to school. He woke up a little late today. After playing horseback riding with Gilifia for half a day last night, it was inevitable that he would wake up late this morning. Seriously, you still want to go to school, Sai? Dustless, who was over 100 years old, didn't know whether to laugh or cry when he thought about it. Even now, he still felt like he was in the clouds. Ouch, it hurts. At this moment, a low cry of pain attracted Dustless's attention. Following the source of the sound, the person who cried out in pain was a blonde girl wearing a nun's dress. Gulp. The blonde girl was sprawled on the ground. Due to her special clothes and the way she fell, Dustless could even see Fat Two's white skin. Dustless looked at the blonde girl in a daze. Her emerald green eyes were very familiar to Dustless. No wonder she looked so familiar. So it's Aisha. Wu Chun came to a sudden realization. Then, he swaggered away and walked toward Isha. "Little sister, are you okay?" Dustless, who realized that something was wrong, immediately changed his words. It was very rude to call someone little sister when he didn't know them. The church. If I didn't know better, I would have thought that it was a place where scholars gathered. In fact, it's a bunch of perverts. Looking at Isha's explicit church dress, Dustless despised her in his heart. He then shook his head and looked at Isha, who was still sprawled on the ground. She was in pain, and it was very difficult for her to move. After all, she was just a simple-minded girl. Not everyone was as impenetrable as Dustless, who could stand still and let people hit him. "Are you okay?" Dustless took the initiative to reach out his hands to support the girl. Unexpectedly, he grabbed Aisha's snow-white wrist. His heart trembled, and ripples appeared in his calm eyes. Dustless glanced at the girl. Although she was young, her body had already begun to take shape. That delicate touch made Dustless daydream. I'm sorry. Did I disturb you? I didn't do it on purpose." Isha, who stood up, quickly bowed and apologized. She also thanked him solemnly. "Thank you for helping me." Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, a gentle breeze suddenly came, and Isha's dress was suddenly blown up. The light under her dress was completely exposed to Dustless. Seeing this scene, Isha's face turned red as if it was burning. She stuttered for a long time, but couldn't say anything. "You're hurt." Dustless, who had sharp eyes, stared at the abrasions on Isha's palm. Then, he grabbed her right arm again, which made her even more embarrassed. "I accidentally fell and hurt myself," Isha said with a red face. Just as she was about to pull her arm back and say that she was fine, she suddenly realized that Dustless was touching her restlessly. Her good impression of Dustless instantly disappeared. "Why are you? What is this? It feels so cool." The anger on Isha's face dissipated. Her mind was swallowed by the temporary feeling of pleasure. She was deeply immersed in it, unable to extricate herself. There was a mysterious warm current flowing around in her body, nourishing her wounds. It was warm and comfortable as the sun. Opening her eyes wide, Isha was shocked to find that her broken wound had healed in an instant. Her clean skin was white, and there were no flaws or scars. "How did you do it?" Isha looked at Dustless with her eyes shining brightly. She was deeply puzzled. Chapter 1259. Isha raised her voice by a few decibels. Her beautiful, gem-like eyes were filled with astonishment. Her small mouth opened and closed, which made her look even more lovely and moving. Anyone who saw her could not help but want to take pity on her. Nothing to be surprised about. It's just a trick. Dustless smiled calmly, his tone revealing the meaning of disdain. He could turn back time, bring people back to life, and create or destroy worlds in the blink of an eye. It was even easier to cure something as trivial as that. Perhaps because it was her first time meeting a stranger, Isha was especially nervous. She clenched the corner of her shirt, her palms sweaty, and could not finish her sentence. "You." Seeing this, Dustless frowned slightly. He looked at her panicked eyes and guessed. "You're not lost, are you?" Hearing this, Aisha's little face turned red from the expanding hydrogen gas in the sky. That's my first time in this city, so I don't know the way." The cute girl clenched her fists as she mustered her courage. "Don't worry about it. When I first came here, I was also very confused." Dustless replied faintly, and then invited her. "Looking at your attire, you should be from the church, right? I happen to be familiar with the place, so I can take you there." "Thank you so much." Isha was overjoyed and quickly bowed to Dustless to thank him. She then grabbed the corner of his shirt, as if she was afraid that Dustless would leave. "Let's go." Seeing this, Dustless smiled and turned to leave. As for the class, he forgot about it. The sky was getting hotter and hotter, and it was almost noon. "Gilifia, what a rare guest. What do you want from me?" A young woman in maid attire stood in front of the paranormal research department, like a shining treasure, attracting everyone's attention. Of course, there were not many people in the empty room. There was only Junai, Riaz, and Gilifia. Riaz, Is Hyodo Kazunari your new family member? I hope you stay away from her in the future. It was rare for Gilifia to use a commanding tone, and she was afraid that Riaz would think that she was joking. This is an order from your father and brother. Riaz, who had the cup of coffee in front of her mouth, paused and stared at Gilifia's face. May I ask why? She asked. Of course you can, but I have no right to answer you. Don't think I'm joking, Gilifia warned, rudely dashing Riaz's hopes. If I find out that you're doing something beyond my tolerance, I'll personally destroy Issei Hyuga, even if he has unlimited potential. Hearing that, Riaz could not help but get angry. After complaining in her heart for a while, she had no choice but to obey. After all, this was the will of her father and brother. One more thing. Gilifia, who was about to leave, turned around gracefully. A strange look flashed across her beautiful face as she said softly, your marriage with Phoenix might change in the future. With that, Gilifia's body began to surge with mana as a magic circle formed beneath her feet. It looked like she was about to leave. Wait, Gilifia, there's one more thing I have to ask. Like a gust of wind, Riaz appeared behind Gilifia out of nowhere and asked in a low voice, this is my personal matter. I have the right to ask, don't I? Who is so powerful that they can forcefully change this marriage? That Phoenix family is one of the most powerful families in the world. You wanted me to marry Phoenix because you saw the power of his family. Now that you're abandoning Phoenix, are you saying that you found someone even more powerful than him? Riaz's voice was filled with shock. To be able to force the Phoenix family to back down, this person must be a super force. You've misunderstood. I just think that you're not suitable for him, and I haven't informed the Phoenix family yet. This is all one-sided. I'm just informing you in advance. Gilifia explained plainly, keeping Riaz in suspense. Goodbye, Riaz. With that, Gilifia dived into the magic circle and disappeared as if she was eaten by something. What do you think, Junai? Why are there so many weird and unusual things happening lately? Riaz, who was still in shock, sat on the sofa, panting so hard that her chest was bouncing. There have been too many weird things happening lately, and I don't know why. I didn't expect your father and brother to reject this marriage. I don't know why, but it's not a bad thing for you. Junai smiled seductively as she ran her fingers through her hair. Her every move was deadly seductive, and it was not an exaggeration to describe her as a deadly poison. No, I know my father and brother better than you. Riaz shook her head resolutely, her eyes filled with unconcealable shock. Rather than saying it's voluntary, it's more like they're forced. When she said that, Riaz's internal organs were throbbing in shock. What kind of super monster was it that made her brother and her stubborn father change their minds? It was as laughable as a dream. Her father and brothers were all famous figures in the world, and her brother was even more powerful. Sazax was the Demon King, admired by countless people. Now that he had backed down, she found it strange. Chapter 1260. At the same time, in another direction, Dustless and Isha were chatting happily, laughing and chatting nonstop. Dustless never felt that he had other attributes other than fighting, killing, and scheming, picking up girls. On the road, the two walked together. Dustless accompanied her to buy a lot of things, including daily necessities. Seems like we're here. Looking up at the unique building in the distance, it looked majestic and holy under the sun. But the darkness under the light was unreadable. Thank you. Isha bowed again and thanked him seriously, as if bowing had become a habit for her. No need to mind. I'm bored anyway. It's just to pass the time. Dustless smiled, giving off a refreshing feeling. Goodbye. Her face flushed red, and she fled at the sight of him. Whoosh! Her footsteps suddenly stopped. A thought flashed through Isha's mind. She turned around and asked, So, we're friends from now on? Yes. Dustless nodded lightly and thought to himself, this is only temporary. Our relationship in the future will be far more than just friends. As soon as she finished speaking, Isha skipped away, looking quite happy. After breaking up with Isha, Dustless did not rush to school. He was never interested in this kind of thing. Instead, He went straight back to the house where he lived with Junai. But unfortunately, Riaz, who came with ill intentions, had been waiting for him for a long time. Please explain why you skipped class, dustless. In the hall, Riaz crossed her legs, hugged her arms, and dragged her proud assets up. Her tone was filled with undisguised dissatisfaction. Riaz, dustless, was speechless. He looked straight ahead and suddenly saw something he should not have seen. Don't change the topic. I want the reason. With a straight face, Riaz curled her lips and said in disdain, Actually, I wanted to say, you're exposed, Riaz. Wu Chen teased. Riaz happened to be sitting opposite him. She was wearing a short skirt, and because she was crossing her legs, Wu Chen had a good view of the depths of her white thighs. Wu Chen could see everything clearly. Black. After a long while, Wu Chen said something as if he was possessed by gods and demons. Hearing that, an awkward expression flashed across Riaz's face, and her crossed legs immediately relaxed. She naturally knew what color she was wearing today. Explain me why. After glaring at Dustless with dissatisfaction, Riaz regained her composure. She did not mind at all and just laughed it off. It's a long story. The reason is, after spending more than 10 minutes, Dustless told Riaz everything without hiding anything. Of course, there was no need to. Aisha? Is she from the church? A hint of disgust flashed across Riaz's eyes. She looked rather hateful. Not only her, but Jurai Himejima was also the same. Right. I have another question that I need you to help me with. I'm sorry, Riaz. Although I'm one of the students of the Supernatural Research Department, I'm not your relative. You don't seem to have the right to order me around. Dustless stuffed Riaz's mouth with one sentence, and she did not have the words to refute. This was the undeniable truth. A strange smile came out of Dustless's mouth, and he said generously, Miss Riaz, I've said it before, you can order me around if you want. But no matter where it is, it's a world of benefits. You should at least give me something that can move my heart. Staring at Jurai Himejima and Riaz's naked bodies, Dustless's eyes seemed to be able to see through their clothes, and his pupils reflected their naked bodies. At this point, Riaz and Jurai Himejima naturally understood what he meant. You want to take advantage of the situation? Jurai Himejima frowned and asked, her tone full of hostility. Don't say it so harshly. This is just a transaction. I'm not Riaz's relative. What's wrong with asking for some compensation? Some people want to hire me at a high price, but I don't agree, Dustless said with a face full of righteousness. He did not feel that he did anything wrong, and he did not force Riaz. It was up to Riaz whether she agreed or not. Who? At this moment, a warm wind blew by his ear. Dustless turned around and saw Riaz with a seductive expression. What do you want as compensation? Riaz lifted her finger and drew circles on Dustless's shoulder. She said frankly, what you said just now makes sense, so I agree to the compensation. Dustless was not surprised. Riaz was such a flirtatious person. Even if she knew about Dustless's dirty request, she would still agree. Is that so? Squinting his eyes into a thin line, Wu Chen's extremely penetrating gaze swept back and forth. Recalling everything that happened between him and Gilifia that day, the corners of his mouth curled up even more mischievously. TSK. Forget it. It's a waste to waste this opportunity now. When I find Gilifia in the future, I'll have the two of them play a game with me. The fire in Dustless's heart was extinguished. His vision cleared up and he could see everything clearly. Riaz's sister-in-law, Gilifia, was rolling around on the same bed as Riaz herself. There was no more spectacular performance than this. Forget it, we're all family. There's no need to be so formal. Minister Riaz, if you have any problems, just tell me. You owe me a favor. Dustless said generously. It would not be too late to take it back with interest in the future. Chapter 1261. Riaz was deeply surprised. She did not expect Dustless to be so carefree. She had planned to put on a live sex scene in Junai's house, but she did not expect Dustless to be so generous. No, Riaz's pretty face flashed with determination, and she rejected Dustless's offer without any regrets. You must take my chastity now. Riaz's face reddened as she said resolutely, "Take your chastity?" Hearing that, Dustless was stunned and repeated like a machine. His tone was unprecedentedly sluggish. "Did I hear wrongly? You actually want to have sex with me?" Not only Dustless, but Junai was also suspicious. "Riaz, have you thought it through?" Junai's eyes flashed, and her eyebrows furrowed. She was also suspicious and instinctively thought that she was toying with Dustless. Although Riaz was very revealing at times, she would never be perfunctory in this kind of situation. After all, it was something that concerned a person's life. "I'm sure." Meeting Dustless's gaze, Riaz responded. Although it was only 3 words, it was still resolute. Hearing that, Dustless could not help but feel a surge of emotions. He exclaimed in his heart, "I'm just too handsome." A beauty throwing herself at him and wanted to go to hell with him. No car, and Riaz had nothing to do with him. He could only say that she was addicted to his handsomeness. "Riaz, you have a fiancé. If you act so recklessly, you might get into big trouble in the future." Junai frowned, and her words hinted that she wanted to stop her. "So that's how it is. This little girl was trying to trick me. If I took her chastity, then, on the contrary, her marriage would also fall through. At that time, the person who took her chastity would be me. Without a doubt, I would definitely be pushed to the heart of the storm." Dustless suddenly realized that this was not seducing him, but digging a hole for herself. "Riaz, what you're doing is indirectly harming me. I'm sorry, but I won't agree." Dustless shook his head. Even though he really wanted to have a wonderful night with Riaz, he rejected her decisively. "You." Hearing that, Riaz's voice faltered, and a flame of anger rose in her heart. She did not expect Dustless to be so ungrateful. Dustless smiled but did not say anything. He looked at Riaz's gloomy little face, glanced at her smugly, and left. "Junai, I'm a little tired today. You don't have to prepare my dinner." When Wu Chen's voice fell, he walked up the stairs. His tone was lazy, and he seemed to be very tired. It's not decent at all. Bad review." As she watched Dustless leave, Riaz pouted unhappily before sitting down dejectedly. "Lias, you really don't like your fiancé?" Junai sat beside Riaz. The two of them were not only superior and subordinate, but also best friends. "Of course. Who would like a stranger? That's why I'll choose Dustless. At least we know each other," Riaz said with a headache, but there was no regret in her tone. At this moment, Junai suddenly grinned. "Don't worry. I know Dustless very well. If he doesn't want to talk to you, you can talk to him." Junai lowered his voice, obviously with bad intentions. He glanced at the floor from the corner of his eyes. His meaning was self-evident. "I'm speechless." Dustless ignored Riaz, but Riaz could use her passive skill to seduce Dustless. Hearing this, Riaz fell silent. She lowered her head, her eyes gleaming as she carefully calculated the gains and losses. As the future heir of the Gimli family, she had a very good political brain. "If I marry that kid, I'll have a lot of power in the future. With his protection, no one will dare to disobey my orders." Riaz showed her unique ability to calculate all the advantages and disadvantages clearly before continuing. "On the contrary, without this guy, I'll have to spend the rest of my life with an annoying stranger. That's worse than killing me." Her gem-like eyes were filled with resistance and doubt. Riaz clearly did not intend to go along with her family's wishes. "Junai, you're right." After a few minutes of silence, Riaz chose to follow Junai's suggestion. Although Dustless was also a stranger and had a weird personality, they still understood each other. Riaz did not reject Dustless. Compared to the stranger, she did not even have the chance to meet. It was easier for Riaz to accept Dustless. But that guy is very difficult to deal with. He's definitely the type that doesn't listen to force or persuasion. Riaz was having a headache. She knew how difficult Dustless was to deal with. Normal people would want to swallow her alive when they saw her. Today, she encountered such a strange accident with Dustless. "Riaz, if force doesn't work, you can use force. If force doesn't work, you could just drug him." Junai showed the style of a Fujoshi. That smile on her face was extremely cunning. "That's not good." Riaz said with a face full of cold sweat. Although Zhu Nai did not mention any drugs, the two of them had known each other for many years, and Riaz was very sensitive to the teasing tone. She immediately understood what she was talking about. I don't think it's bad. Zhu Nai shook her head and said with a normal expression, only when a person's brain is about to explode and her thoughts are in a mess will she speak the truth. Only then can a person's essence be seen clearly. And Riaz, don't you think it's fun to tease that guy a little? Letting a person with great potential become a slave to your body, I think you've gained a lot. As the elegant fragrance entered his nose, Dustless nodded without a trace and sighed inwardly. He opened his eyes uncontrollably, wanting to see what Riaz brought to share with him. Teapot. There are also 2 cups. This guy wouldn't come to drink tea with me in the middle of the night, would he? So elegant? Dustless thought speechlessly. He glanced at Riaz again. She was dressed the same as when Dustless used his observation hockey. She was completely naked. Forget it, continue to pretend to be asleep. After not understanding Riaz's intentions, Dustless just laughed it off. In the face of absolute strength, all schemes and tricks were a joke. You're so hard to please. She leaned close to Dustless's bed and looked down at the handsome sleeping face. The perfect face was like the bright moon hanging high in the sky, untouchable. Out of curiosity, Riaz could not help but scratch Dustless's little face. Riaz was surprised and pinched Dustless harder. After making sure she did not pinch wrongly, she said in surprise, "This guy isn't a woman, is he?" Dustless's smooth skin and messy black hair had an indescribable charm to it. What surprised Riaz the most was that Dustless's body had a unique body fragrance. Riaz could not help but lay down, and her delicate white nose came close to Dustless and sniffed twice. This guy, don't tell me, he's a female classmate. After staring at Dustless for a while, Riaz complained in her heart. If she ignored his chest and did not look at his hair, Dustless would definitely have a gorgeous transformation. Ambushing me in the middle of the night, it shouldn't be that boring. Dustless was very depressed. Even with his eyes closed, through the perception of observation hockey, Dustless could sense that Riaz was close by and was looking at him in a daze. Because she was too close, Dustless could even feel the heat. He could feel the hot air blowing on his face. Why is this guy looking for me? Dustless thought in confusion. After realizing that Riaz did not have any ill intentions, he let down his guard and began to think about her motives. Gulp! At this moment, Dustless suddenly felt a stream of heat flowing into the corner of his mouth. It was sweet. It was the water in Riaz's teapot. It tasted good. Dustless also inhaled it. After a few minutes, after an unprecedented heat appeared in his heart, Dustless was stunned. This feeling is not right. Why do I feel hot for no reason? Could this be an aphrodisiac? Chapter 1263. Noticing the sudden, huge change in his body, Wu Chun was stunned for a moment. The hot flame came out of nothing and wanted to burn Wu Chen's whole body. His white face turned dark red in an instant, and his steady breathing speed became rapid. Without a doubt, Dustless was sure that he had been drugged. F***CK. I'm a man, and I was drugged by a kid who laughed at me for over 100 years. How am I going to survive like this? Also, this Riaz is really brave. She knew that I'm not easy to deal with, so she used this method. Dustless was speechless. He knew that Riaz would not give up, but he did not expect her to be pushed to this extent. Huff! The thick heat rushed into Dustless's nostrils. Like a catalyst, the effect of the drug that he had been suppressing increased exponentially, and in an instant, it dyed Dustless's face red. The effect of the drug continued to take effect, and every cell in his body felt uncomfortable and hot. After a moment of stalemate, Dustless could not hide it anymore, and revealed his deep black eyes. Looking into Riaz's eyes, Dustless realized that she was naked, and shook his head with a bitter smile. He said hesitantly, "Miss Riaz, even if you want me to take away your chastity, you don't have to use such drastic measures." Looking at Riaz deeply, Dustless sensed something else from her clear eyes. A woman who liked to control her own fate. She would do anything for it. You can understand my pain, so just give in to me. Her soft white thumb gently pulled open Dustless's pajamas, revealing his strong chest. His muscles were evenly distributed, and there was an indescribable sense of beauty. Dustless's body was like a giant sponge, absorbing all the hazy moonlight. His body was very eye-catching. This guy, is he really a woman? Riaz thought strangely, and her small hands could not help but reach into the depths of the blanket. Without my permission, don't you dare touch me. Wu Chun scolded with a straight face. This guy was really audacious. He actually dared to touch his most important place. Slap! A light, crisp sound was suddenly heard, and Dustless mercilessly slapped Riaz's small hand away. I have no problem taking away your chastity, but I don't feel anything from the drug, so I need other tricks to satisfy me. Riaz was stunned and looked at Dustless suspiciously. After seeing his cunning smile, a flash of hesitation appeared. She was sure that Dustless did not have any good ideas, and must be thinking of some method that would harm others without benefiting himself. Speaking of which, the medicine is so effective. Why don't you have any reaction at all? Although Dustless was panting heavily and his face was flushed red, he was still able to maintain his consciousness. Not only that, but he was also constantly taunting Riaz. Needless to say, he was fine. Hearing that, Dustless smiled condescendingly and raised a finger and shook it at Riaz. What do you mean? Seeing that, Riaz looked at Dustless in confusion and guessed, Are you saying that you need 10 times the effect of the drug to knock you out? No. After a mysterious smile, Dustless shook his head. Then, don't tell me that you need 100 times the effect of the drug to do it, Riaz said with a face full of distrust. She looked at Wu Chun with a face full of mockery. She was trying her best to hold back her laughter, as if she would laugh out loud if Wu Chun said it. You're really stupid, Riaz. I'm talking about a drug that's at least 1,000 times stronger than the previous one to make me faint. If you want to completely knock me out, you need to multiply that by at least 10 times. In other words, a drug that's 1,000 times stronger than the previous one will turn me into a beast, Dustless said proudly, and at the same time, his red face returned to normal, and his heavy breathing disappeared. Everything that happened just now seemed to be a tease to Riaz. Riaz was stunned and cursed in her heart. Did this guy grow up on aphrodisiacs? That's why his immunity is so strong, and he's completely fine. This kind of special drug can make even 10 elephants kneel. Looks like I have to agree to his terms. After thinking about it, Riaz realized that she did not have any trump cards to defeat the enemy. On the other hand, Dustless had all kinds of treasures in his hands, and she would not be able to refute any of them. Say it. I'll definitely agree to it. Helpless, Riaz could only lower her proud head and choose to compromise. She could not just find a random person and give her most precious thing to someone who had no value at all. As for Issei Hutu, Riaz just thought about it and laughed it off. He was just an insignificant pawn now, and calling him a demon was a stretch. Hearing this, Wu Chun let out a proud laugh. He stared at Riaz's graceful body without scruples and nodded in admiration. He sighed inwardly. What a beautiful woman, the demon incarnate. My request is simple. If you want me to take away your chastity, I'll agree to it. But before that, you have to provoke my desire to take you, Dustless said directly, and his meaning was self-evident. The corner of his mouth had a wicked smile, and it was even more direct. If you want me to take away your chastity, sure, but I don't have much stamina, so, staring at Riaz's thin lips, Wu Chun changed his body into a more comfortable position and said in an inviolable tone, In order to prevent me from collapsing from exhaustion, Miss Riaz, please at least use your mouth to wake me up. Chapter 1264. Hearing Dustless's shameless request, Riaz was shocked. She may be young and inexperienced, but as the sister of the Demon King, Sazax, she was exposed to a lot of things. She immediately understood what dustless meant. With such a direct hint, Riaz could not play dumb even if she wanted to. Are you kidding me? Do you know who I am? Riaz gritted her teeth and asked, veins popping out on her forehead. I'm not kidding, I'm serious. Pointing at his most important part, Dustless said with a serious face, Come on, or I might change my mind later. You can't regret it even if you want to. Before I change my mind, you better finish it for me. Otherwise, when I change my mind, I might make even more unreasonable requests. Dustless said with a smile and pointed at his chest. Riaz was furious. She was not an idiot, and she naturally knew what Dustless was hinting at. After a moment of hesitation, looking at Dustless's despicable smile, Riaz's eyes were filled with reluctance. In the end, she could only compromise. Just like what Dustless said before, since she had a request to use, she had to pay a price. Gulp. Closing her eyes and enduring the discomfort, Riaz swallowed Dustless' most important part. Open your eyes. No. Then I'll have to redefine our relationship. Miss Riaz, not only do you have to open your eyes, you have to look at yourself in the mirror. Riaz could only accept it in the end, sweating profusely. At this time, downstairs, Junai was elegantly holding a bubbling teacup with a strange expression. Damn it, did Riaz forget to close the door? What kind of joke is this, not knowing to close the door? That fellow is really forgetful. Maybe she doesn't even remember that this is my house. She probably threw me aside and didn't care about me anymore. Junai's pretty face was flushed red, and 2 small dimples appeared on both sides of her cheeks. Her little face was flushed red, and her smile could topple cities and countries. Nothing could be more beautiful than this. At this moment, Junai was clearly different. She gripped the corner of her clothes tightly, and her eyes were filled with colorlessness. She glanced at the staircase from the corner of her eyes, and when she saw that the door wasn't closed, she quickly retracted her gaze. The weird noises produced by Wu Chun and Riaz's entanglement were all transmitted into her ears. This was all because Riaz did not close the door. Those 2 guys are they treating me like air? Junai thought to himself gloomily. He was extremely conflicted. He had no sense of existence in his home, and was directly forgotten by Dustless and Riaz. How could he not be depressed? Creak, creak, creak. In the room Dustless and Riaz were in, the bed rocked back and forth, and in just an hour, the creaking sound made one's imagination run wild. Phew! After an unknown amount of time, Riaz let out a long sigh of relief, and her crawling body stood up again. Are you satisfied now? As soon as he finished speaking, Riaz complained to the heavens. Her mouth had been occupied by Dustless for an hour, and there was almost no rest in the middle. Even when she wanted to take it out and rest for a while, she was coldly pressed down by Dustless. After working for so long, her speech was not normal anymore, and the muscles around her mouth were starting to cramp. Your skills are SOSO. Dustless glanced at Riaz and sent her to hell with one sentence. It's easy for you to say. After all, it's my first time doing something like this. What I need to hear is praise, not sarcasm, Riaz said discontentedly. She then looked at Dustless and said, I've already met your requirements. I hope you can keep your promise and take away my chastity now. That annoying fiancé can go to hell. Instead of marrying a stranger, I'd rather take advantage of you. At least we've met a few times, spoken a few words, and at least we're desk mates. At the end, Riaz's tone was obviously bleak and desolate. The descendants of big families were like this. They did not have the ability to control their own fates. They were just sacrifices for the marriage alliance. Of course, I'll definitely keep my promise. You'll be mine from now on, Riaz. Dustless pursed his lips and smiled, half as mysterious as a miracle pill. Only then did Riaz feel a little better. At the same time, Dustless had already arrived in front of Riaz. His eyes were gentle as he looked at Riaz with deep affection. Just as he was about to tear apart the last barrier between the two, something unexpected happened. Riaz, what you're doing is too much for us. A young woman with silver hair, dressed in a maid's costume, came into his sight. She stepped out of a blood-red magic circle calmly. where her bright eyes fell on Dustless. A touch of surprise flashed in her eyes, as well as a hint of joy flashed in her eyes. "Do you two think it's appropriate for you to do this?" Gilifia calmed herself down and asked plainly, her tone cold and questioning. Riaz smiled sadly, her face pale and filled with helplessness and disappointment. She wanted to hand it over to Dustless, but she was still one step too late. "Of course it's not appropriate." Seeing Gilifia appear, Dustless's eyes lit up and looked at her like a hungry wolf. "Can it be appropriate without you? My ultimate goal is for the three of us to have a good night together." Chapter 1265. Hearing that, Gilifia looked at Dustless in panic. Only a handful of people knew about her relationship with Dustless, and now this bastard was going to reveal it to the world in front of Riaz. How could Gilifia keep her dignity in the future? Without a doubt, she would become a laughingstock. The Demon King Syzax was cuckolded? This explosive news was enough to shake the entire world. "Kid, don't spout nonsense. I don't know you." Gilifia's face flashed with panic, losing her usual calmness. "Watch your mouth." Gilifia cursed Dustless in her mind. Who was Riaz? She was Syzax's sister. If she knew that her sister-in-law had something to do with Dustless, what would she do? Just the thought of it gave Gilifia goosebumps. She glanced at Dustless with pleading eyes, wanting to compromise. Seeing that, Dustless smiled strangely and ignored Gilifia's pleading eyes. "Miss Gilifia, have you forgotten what happened between us the other day?" Dustless's face was filled with grief as he shouted, "Then you take it off yourself, enough." Gilifia's expression changed. Not giving Dustless a chance to speak, she displayed the authority of the Demon King's wife and said, "Riaz, I have some personal matters to discuss with her. It's too complicated. You may leave first." "Gilifia? Don't tell me." Riaz's eyes glowed. She was not a 3-year-old kid. From Dustless's cheeky expression and Gilifia's angry face, she could roughly guess what was going on. "All right then." Riaz, who was about to leave, suddenly stopped. She realized that she could not leave as she pleased. She had worked so hard for half a day, but she did not achieve her goal. Did this mean that she had been working for Wuchen for more than 2 hours, and her jaw was about to dislocate? But in the end, she did not get anything. She could not help but glare at Dustless, her beautiful eyes spitting fire. "Don't glare at me. This has nothing to do with me. It's all her fault." Dustless looked innocent as he pointed his thumb at Gilifia mercilessly. "You ruined my business. Don't think I'll let it go so easily." Hearing that, Gilifia's face stiffened. She was furious. Riaz was still there. Wuchen was purposely making things difficult for her. "Why aren't you leaving?" Seeing Riaz dilly-dallying, Gilifia's tone was a rare sternness, as if she wanted to chase her out. "I will remember this debt. I will definitely not let you off in the future." Riaz's delicate nose, Riaz and left gracefully. "What's the meaning of this? You're doing this on purpose. Do you believe that I'll take you down with me?" Gilifia lowered her voice and asked. Her hoarse voice was clear, as if she had seen through life and death, as if she really wanted to go to hell with Dustless. Do you think threatening me will work? You want to take me down with you? Didn't I tell you the other day? You're the most suited to be his servant." Dustless laughed at Gilifia's threat. He found it hilarious that a dwarf was threatening a giant with such confidence. Dustless could not suppress the ridicule in his heart. "You looking down on me?" Seeing this, Gilifia was infuriated. She lightly stomped her foot. Her beautiful eyes burst out with thick killing intent, and her whole body surged with a frightening ruthlessness. "You ruined my plans, and now you want to take me down with you. If I don't teach you a lesson, you'll think that I'm made of mud." His pupils rolled, and the scarlet, eternal Mangekyo Sharingan took over his entire eyeball. "What kind of eyes are those? Why do I feel this way just by looking at them?" Gilifia said softly. She felt as if she had been electrocuted just by looking at the strange crimson magma. Even the so-called strongest silver-haired queen of annihilation had become a defenseless little girl, let alone a dimensional invader like Dustless, Even a 7 or 8-year-old child with a sharp weapon could slaughter her in her current state. Let's play something interesting. The eternal Manjiku Sharingan emitted bursts of red light. Although Gilifia realized that something was wrong and actively avoided Dustless's gaze, under this monstrous eye power, she was nothing more than a lamb with its limbs bound, suppressed by the monstrous eye power. Damn it, Gilifia cursed. Her body was suppressed by a mysterious aura. Her waist was bent, and her delicate face was almost stuck to the ground. Gilifia was on the verge of breaking down. She suddenly felt that the scene in front of her was extraordinarily familiar. It was almost the same as the scene from last time. A thought that made her break down appeared in her mind. This fellow, could it be that he wants to ride me around again? Gilifia's body trembled at the thought. She was going to do the most humiliating thing in her life a second time. It was worse than being skinned alive and swallowed alive. Thinking of that day when Dustless used her as a horse and rode her around naked, Gilifia was filled with a rare sense of fear, especially when Riaz was watching from the outside. If she sneaked in and found out that her sister-in-law was having an affair behind her brother's back, what would happen? Let's talk nicely. Don't mess around. Gilifia gave up her dignity and begged for mercy. Dustless was shameless, but if Riaz saw it, she would be too ashamed to face anyone. Chapter 1266. Seeing Gilifia begging for mercy, Dustless became even more aggressive. His gaze seemed to be able to see through half of a human's clothes, causing Gilifia's heart to palpitate uneasily. Dustless's clear eyes seemed to be able to see through everything. Any clothes were a joke in front of him. Put away that vulgar gaze of yours. Gilifia couldn't take it anymore and shouted. She quickly turned her back to Dustless, as if this was the only way for her to feel better. Only by doing so would she be able to act normal in front of the mischievous Dustless. You're interrupting my fun for no reason, and you want me to put up with you? Dustless chuckled and took the initiative to approach Gilifia. Her head had already slid out of her mouth and was about to pounce on Gilifia. Whoosh! Seeing the unfavorable situation, Gilifia dodged to the side and dodged Dustless's attack like a gust of wind. Oh, your reaction is pretty fast. I didn't expect a little girl like you to have some skills. Dustless teased, his eyes full of mockery. Gilifia frowned and instinctively sensed that something was wrong. She sensed the hidden meaning in Dustless's words and instinctively took a step back. Who would have thought that she would fall into Dustless's arms? Gilifia was stunned, her beautiful eyes overflowing with color. Dustless was right in front of her a second ago, and the next second, he appeared behind her without any warning. What did you do? Bastard, let go of me and stop your hand right now. Gilifia's face turned red with anger. She began to struggle with all her might, her demonic energy going berserk as she tried to force Dustless back. How long has it been? Dustless sneaked into her body and began to touch her without restraint. Don't move around. Don't forget where you are right now. Understand your position. Dustless frowned slightly when he saw Gilifia tumbling around like a loach. His words contained a hint of warning. You ruined my plans, so you have to compensate me for my loss. Dustless said rudely and unreasonably. He was not the kind of person who would abide by the rules. Gilifia was shaken and blushed. She naturally understood what Dustless meant. He was planning to force himself on her. Stop. I have something important to tell you. Since the hard way did not work, Gilifia decided to use a soft approach. It's about you and Riaz. About me and Lias? Just as Gilifia expected, Dustless's restless hands immediately stopped moving when Riaz was mentioned. He frowned and asked, What's the matter between me and Riaz? No, it doesn't matter. Even if that damn fiancé of hers really comes, I will take Riaz back. After saying that, Wu Chen's small hands began to move again. After a short while, Gilifia began to pant. Ugh! Gilifia was very depressed. Her heart was bleeding. She had met Dustless twice in total, and it was definitely the worst thing that happened to her. Even so, Gilifia did not hate Dustless. This was a world where strength was everything. The stronger one was, the more fearless they could be. Moreover, the education of strength was deeply ingrained in Gilifia. She was upset, but she could not resist because she did not have the ability. Going against the flow would only lead to more violent revenge. Don't worry. What if that fiancé is you? Gilifia raised her voice. That one sentence froze Dustless on the spot, and the hands in her arms retracted as if they had been electrocuted. You're not lying to me, are you? Dustless's face was full of doubt. He did not know whether to laugh or cry as he thought to himself. Damn it. Why do I always cheat on people? Last time it was Sizak's, and this time it's that roasted chicken from the Phoenix family. Lie? I wouldn't dare. Hearing this, Gilifia revealed a bitter smile. Although she had only met Dustless twice, she knew that this guy hated liars. In fact, it was not just Dustless. Every powerful person hated being lied to. That would be best. Dustless nodded in satisfaction. While he was still doubtful, he thought about it and understood. After all, his strength was there for all to see. It was normal for Rias's parents and brother to think highly of him. Comparing Dustless and Hyoto Issei, it was easy to imagine who was stronger. But Dustless stared at Gilifia with glowing eyes like a starving wolf. Gilifia immediately backed away. Just as she was about to activate her mana to escape, Dustless came before her and easily suppressed her. Now that you mention it, you're even more guilty, Gilifia. Don't you think you should apologize with your body for interrupting me and my fiancé? With that, chakra waves erupted from Dustless's palm, shattering Gilifia's clothes and exposing her perfect body to Dustless. Gilifia felt as if she had fallen into an ice cavern. She did not even need to think to know what was going to happen next. She would be devoured by Dustless's domineering lover. It's your fortune to be with me. Some people want to be with me, but I'll kick them away. Dustless smiled as he gently rubbed Gilifia's body to feel her tender skin. Absolutely not. I already have a child. Gilifia argued, hoping that Dustless would break the news. But when she saw Dustless's dazed eyes, her body went limp as if she had been electrocuted and fell into Dustless's arms. Chapter 1267. Gilifia shrunk her neck with a fearful expression. She felt fear towards Dustless from the depths of her soul. This guy was fearless, not to mention the fact that she was the Devil King's wife. Even if she was the Devil King herself, she still wouldn't be able to stop Dustless' progress. They were on completely different levels. Ding! Not long after, a moving moan came out of Gilifia's mouth, causing people to be lost in wild and fanciful thoughts, and they couldn't help but be led astray. Wu Chen's hands gently teased here and there. Every time he moved a bit, Gilifia's panting would become even more intense. Let me go, Gilifia said anxiously. She realized that she was about to be melted by Dustless. Instead of pushing Dustless, her fists actually slowed down when they landed on his body. It was more like she was begging him. Seeing this, Dustless didn't stand on ceremony and directly told Gilifia that he hadn't eaten for so long that he had long been suffocated. Creak. A few minutes later, there was the sound of violent shaking from upstairs. Of course, there was also Gilifia's shy moans. Even if she used all her strength, she couldn't resist Dustless's violent domination. It was completely useless. Moreover, Dustless was like a beast on fire. The more she resisted, the more pain she felt. Every cell in her body hurt, and her bones felt like they were about to fall apart. This night was destined to be a sleepless one. Dustless forced Gilifia to change all kinds of positions, tormenting her. The next morning, the sun shone brightly. Dustless followed Zhu Nai to school listlessly. The bright sunlight made him feel extremely uncomfortable. Dustless looked extremely dispirited. His back was hunched, and there were clear dark circles under his eyes. He was even yawning. What did you do last night? Junai looked at the exhausted Dustless with a strange expression. She only heard from Rias that she was kicked out when she was about to break through the final barrier with Dustless. She didn't know what happened after that. What did I do? Of course, It's for the benefit of the entire human race. Wu Chun stretched lazily and said with a hidden meaning. Dustless was immensely proud of himself. Last night, he and Gilifia had been making babies all night. His waist was about to break. Gilifia couldn't bear it anymore and was directly knocked out by Dustless. Be careful. Gilifia, what she is has nothing to do with me. Glancing at Zhu Nai indifferently, Wu Chen's expression remained the same. No matter what her background was, Wu Chen wouldn't care. As long as she dared to come knocking on his door, he would just trample on her. What's more, a girl delivered herself to his doorstep. What's the difference between Wu Chun and a salted fish if Wu Chun still endured it? Ouch! A cry of pain attracted Dustless and Zhu Nai's attention. They both looked over at the same time. Aisha, you know her? Zhu Nai looked at Dustless in surprise, her brows knitted together. She stared at the blonde girl for a moment and said in surprise, "The blonde girl from the church you mentioned, is she?" "Indeed, she is Aisha. By the way, what about the matter I talked to the minister about last time? I hope she can become the minister's dependent. She's quite capable." Dustless ignored the latter's objection and pulled Zhu Nai's hand over shamelessly. "Something's not right. She looks a bit messy. Is she being chased?" Dustless's gaze turned cold. Looking at Aisha's blood-red clothes, a hint of anger flashed in his eyes. Wu Chun and Aisha had only met once. They weren't familiar with each other, nor did they fall in love at first sight. The girl had a weak appearance, isolated from the rest of the world. When facing her, Wu Chun was more lustful and protective. "Your name is Donathik, right?" A faint and clear cry descended from the sky, devoid of any emotion. It was a very ordinary sentence, but when it fell into Donaxi's ears, it was like thunder piercing through his ears. His mind felt like it was about to explode, and the world before his eyes turned blurry as overlapping images began to appear. Was it an illusion? Donathik, who came back to his senses, was shocked. In that instant, he felt like he was the prey of a god, and he would be reduced to ashes with just a thought. Clang! Due to his excessive nervousness, Donathik didn't even hold the light spear in his hand tightly. In a daze, his hand loosened and it fell to the ground. It must be an illusion. There isn't such a scary guy in the world. Even if there is, he wouldn't target me for no reason. Damn it, Rina Amano-shima seems to be having such nightmares recently. Could it be that she infected me? His gaze valiantly swept across Dustless. Noticing that there wasn't the slightest fluctuation of magic on him, Donathik said arrogantly, "Where did this kid come from? If you don't want to die, get lost." Dustless looked at Donathik, amused and annoyed at the same time. He dug his ear and said, "What did you say? Can you repeat it? I'm deaf and didn't hear it." "You." Donathik's face turned red. He was merciful enough to say so much to a human, but the other party didn't even understand what he meant. Didn't that mean that his words had been blown away by the wind and didn't even reach Dustless's ears? If that's the case, then you can die. Donathik was so angry that he laughed. He picked up the light spear that had fallen to the ground and threw it out with all his might. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. A white silver light pierced toward Dustless, and it looked like it was going to tear him apart. The attack was also very vicious, aiming at Dustless's head. It looked like it was going to tear him apart. However, the latter didn't move. Chapter 1268. If I'm killed by something like you, the people I've killed in the past, I'm afraid they'll jump out of hell and strangle me to death. Dustless smiled faintly and raised his right arm lazily. Golden light gathered at the tip of his index finger. After pausing for a few seconds, he unleashed it with all his might. Laser shot. A straight beam of light pierced through the sky, leaving behind a faint afterimage. Looking at it, the incoming spear of light was instantly reduced to a cloud of dust. Boom, boom, boom. The moment the two collided, everything turned into nothingness. What a strange move, but it's still a problem for you to defeat me. Tanaxi took out his spear of light, again after recovering from his shock. His confident look made it seem as though his spear of light would never run out. Forget it. I'll let you off the hook for now. This little girl is more important. Donathic turned the spear around, and two black wings appeared on his back as he charged forward. Idiot! Dustless's eyes grew colder and colder, with a chilling, murderous aura. He raised his head and saw that Aisha was drenched in blood and her face was incomparably pale. Donasic, who was wearing a black coat, chased closely behind her. There was an evil smile on his face, full of mockery. "You're courting death." Seeing this, Dustless's body exploded with a brilliant light and turned into a golden beam of light that shot forward. What a flash! The flash exploded with an unprecedented golden luster. Junai instinctively closed her eyes. That gorgeous luster seemed as though she would be blinded if she looked at it any longer. Not only that, it was also very sacred. Junai couldn't help but feel a sense of respect. When she realized what had happened, even Junai herself was at a loss. Why would she feel respect for a mortal? This became an unsolved mystery. If you still want to run? If I can't even take care of a worm like you, how am I going to survive in the future? Donax laughed maniacally as the two black wings on his waist flapped, stirring up a violent gust of wind. He leaped into the air, and his speed was dozens of times faster than before. In the blink of an eye, he was right in front of Isha, who had turned pale with fright. "What are you waiting for?" Boom, boom, boom. Before he could finish his sentence, a beam of light shot down from the clear sky and mercilessly covered Donathic's body. A painful scream immediately came out of his mouth. His two wings were scorched in the air and slowly evaporated. Not only that, but the other parts of his body were also burned at a speed visible to the naked eye, and the smell of rotting flesh filled the air. "Are you all right, Aisha?" Beside Isha, light floated and condensed into the elegant face of a black-haired youth. "It's you, Dustless?" Isha cried tears of joy. She was so excited that she hugged Wu Chun tightly. So fragrant. The soft touch made Dustless's face reveal a look of enjoyment. Dustless praised in his heart. Then he frowned and suddenly realized that Isha's body was wet and had turned blood red. It turned out that she had been drenched in blood and there were wounds all over her body. They did it. Dustless glanced at Donaxi, who was rolling on the ground and screaming miserably. He said, "Don't worry, you're safe now. It's nothing. It's just a small injury." Isha revealed a cheerful smile, indicating that she was fine. However, her face was pale from the pain. "You are really kind, Aisha." Dustless sighed inwardly at her ignorance and didn't say anything. Perhaps this was her cute side. At the same time, the shining lightspeed kick on Dustless's feet quickly extinguished. His eyes locked onto Donaxi as he spoke coldly. "I wanted to finish you in one move, but it looks like I'm letting you off too easily. Aisha and I are friends. The pain she suffered will be returned 100-fold by you. So it's better for you to be slowly burned to death." When Dustless finished speaking, Donaxi let out an even more miserable scream. It could be heard clearly from hundreds of meters away. This fellow looks harmless on the surface, but he's actually very vicious. No, or rather, he values his friends very much. Those who take revenge on his classmates will suffer retaliation tenfold or 100-fold. Looking at Donaxi's melted pineapple-like skin that fell to the ground like water, even Junai, who was a sadist, had a slight change in expression. She had a clearer understanding of Dustless. A dragon has a reverse scale. Those who touch it will definitely die. This sentence was the most suitable to describe him. It was boring. Even if he made a joke that went too far, he could laugh it off. However, when he angered Dustless, just like Donaxi, he would suffer a fate worse than death. Hey, don't look at me like that. I'm actually a very gentle man." The teasing tone rang in Junai's ears and pulled her back from her daze. When she looked up, she coincidentally met Dustless's eyes. She carefully examined this cheeky face, and for some reason, she felt that it was extremely unfamiliar. No one could tell what he was scheming in his heart. "Speaking of which, have you already escaped from Amano?" "Renally?" Dustless, who realized his name, quickly changed it. At the same time, he looked at Junai and said, "Rias has been lacking a monk recently. I think Isha is very suitable. She? Junai looked at the nervous Isha with hesitation. Thinking of the ability that Wu Chan had introduced before, he nodded his head and confessed. She has already parted ways with the fallen angel. If that's the case, Rias won't reject her anymore, right? I'll definitely work hard. Isha was excited when she heard that. Her pretty face blushed and looked very cute. After she left the professor's dark side, the first person she thought of was Dustless, who was her friend. Chapter 1269. Isha clenched her fists so tightly that they turned cold. She grabbed Dustless's big hand with both hands and held it tightly, as if she was afraid that he would slip away. You're quite popular. Junai's eyes narrowed into crescents. He looked very cunning, and it seemed like he was up to no good. By the way, Miss Isha, I forgot to tell you that Dustless may look young, but he's already married. Afraid that Dustless and Isha would not fight, Junai tried to sow discord. I just heard from Galifia that Dustless has become the department head's fiancée. She even said that they might get married soon. Married? Are you kidding me? How come I don't know about this? Dustless asked with a frown. He was sure that Junai was doing this on purpose. That evil look in his eyes said it all. Really? Isha's tone changed when she heard that. There was a hint of resentment and even a little sobbing. Crying just like that? Is this girl made of water? She can get water out just by squeezing a little? Dustless was speechless. He did not expect this girl to cry so easily. She was a little naive. Just you wait. He glared at Junai. He would not let this go so easily. He would deal with Junai in the future. To be honest, I do have an engagement with Rias. Dustless chose to be honest. Maybe if it was someone else, he could go against his conscience and fool them, but Isha was an exception. Dustless was her only friend. If he lied to her over such a small matter, he would be worse than an animal. I knew it. Isha's face was as white as a sheet. She looked weak and weak as if her soul had been sucked out. Her body swayed from side to side. Don't worry, demons can marry more wives. Dustless's eyes lit up. He casually came up with a lame excuse that even he found hard to pronounce. I can do that. Demons can marry more wives. Junai and Dustless stood on the same side and comforted Isha. Perhaps they knew that it would not be good to continue this argument. Yet demons are so nice. Isha's gem-like eyes shone brightly. Her eyes turned into crescent moons as she smiled. Well, I'm still the most handsome one. Dustless was secretly pleased. Isha had abandoned her master and chose to jump into Dustless's trap. Clearly, his charisma was at work. Someone's there? Wu Chen's face suddenly became serious. He turned his head and looked at the green forest behind him. He vaguely saw a pair of crystal eyes. It's her? She's still not giving up. Seemingly aware of Dustless's detection, the pupil hidden in the dense forest hurriedly retracted. In an instant, it hid and disguised itself. She didn't know that Dustless would only humiliate her with her laughable concealment technique. Junai, I still have some private matters to settle. You take Isha back to school first. I'll leave the matter of her family and her enrollment to you. Dustless's eyes turned cold as he glanced at the forest. Leave it to me. Junai had his signature friendly smile on his face. It was as if he had met his sister. He chatted with Isha and wanted her to integrate into this new group as soon as possible. In the dark forest, there were few people. Occasionally, there would be a few dark shadows flitting across the sky. The startled cawing of the crows combined with the deathly stillness of the environment was simply a natural cemetery. Only Superman could maintain his composure in this place. Your low-level concealment technique. Forget it. You're not even concealing your own presence. It's just a simple concealment technique. In the forest, he recalled the young man's disdainful taunts. The disdain in his words was not concealed at all. About 4 to 5 meters in front of Dustless, there was a girl with beautiful black hair, a hot body, and a pair of black wings. She was like a beautiful scenery that attracted Dustless's attention. You're quite pretty, but your heart has been dyed black. Amano Shima. Oh no, I should call you by another name. Ms. Rena Ray. Dustless smiled gently. He gave off a warm and gentle feeling. "You know my name." Amano-shima's heart sank when she heard what he said. She had a deeper understanding of Dustless's mysteriousness. "Give that little brat to me. I can give you everything you want," Amano-shima said in a carefree tone with a sense of going all out. She also understood that one could not get the wolf without sacrificing the child. Finally, she added, "Of course, including myself. If you want, I can still give myself to you. You can do whatever you want. You can play with me however you want." Amano-shima's face revealed a bashful expression. Even she felt embarrassed saying those words. Only an idiot would fall for it. Dustless did not think much of it. Amano-shima was just an empty promise. Of course, she could make any promise she wanted. She could even make it more unreliable. He was afraid that after he gave Isha to her, she would run away. "I can give Isha to you, but I have a condition. You must let me decrypt your body first. This is the pre-sale experience. Otherwise, I can't do it. Even if you kill me, I can't do it." Dustless laughed. Amano-shima was despicable? He could be more despicable than Amano-shima. Chapter 1270. Hearing Dustless's words, Amano-shima's small face instantly froze. Her mouth twitched. Just when she was about to open her mouth to deny Amano-shima, she realized that most of her brain cells had died. She couldn't find a reason to refute Dustless's point of view. At that moment, she could only stand on the spot with nothing to do. What if you regret it? Thinking of the importance of the Aisha divine equipment, Saint Smile, Amano-shima finally chose to compromise after a slight struggle in her heart. When facing Dustless, she didn't have any advantage at all. There were a few times when she lost her dignity and became a laughingstock. As for using force, Amano-shima didn't even think about it and directly ignored it. When Amano-shima saw the shocking scene of Donithik being crushed just now, she was shocked in her heart. Raising his head to look at Dustless's face, Amano-shima recalled the battle just now. Dustless was like a cat playing with a mouse, wantonly controlling the battle situation. That was not a battle at all. It could be more accurately described as a big fish eating a small fish. Me regret it? This will depend on your performance. If you're willing to let me play comfortably, I will naturally fulfill your wish. If you don't reach the standard, I will definitely regret it. Of course, the final choice is still yours. It's up to you to agree or not. I won't force you. Dustless had a magnanimous expression on his face that said, "You should thank me." You. Swallowing her saliva, Amano-shima was secretly furious. Dustless's words were beautiful, but in reality, Amano-shima didn't have the right to choose. No matter what choice she made, there was only one path in front of Amano-shima. If she wanted to get the Saint Smile, she could only agree to Dustless. I didn't force you. Since you have made your choice, then let's go." Dustless took a few steps forward and held Amano-shima's small hand affectionately. He winked at her, and his handsome face had an ambiguous smile. Amano-shima's mind was shaken. She struggled slightly, but her negligible strength couldn't affect Dustless at all. In the end, he closed his eyes and silently accepted his fate. He could only follow Dustless's footsteps and leave. Inside the brightly lit room, it was very luxurious and spacious. Dustless leaned lazily against the side of a large square pool to rest. The exquisite marble was exceptionally smooth and comfortable, and he didn't want to get down when he lay down. Dustless was naked, without the slightest covering on his body. There was also a woman beside her who was doing the same thing. She was completely naked, and she was doing her best to massage Dustless's back and legs. Her technique was very precise. She didn't use too much force on the places that needed to be used too much force, and she used too much force on the places that needed to be used. The young girl served Wu-chan with all her might. Her black hair was like a waterfall that reached her waist. There were sweat stains on both sides of her temples. She looked exhausted. Looking closely, the girl who was painstakingly massaging Dustless's legs was Amano-shima. "Oh, I was right about you. This technique, TSK, you can stay by my side and serve me in peace. Dustless closed his eyes and enjoyed the massage comfortably. It was as if he was floating in the sky, and his body was exceptionally light. Amano Shima's wonderful massage technique made Dustless secretly exclaim at how powerful she was. During this period of time, he went through Amano Shima's memories. 4 low-level fallen angels like her. They usually monitored others and seduced others. Dustless was her first customer, which also meant that Dustless was her first target. Her technique was indeed very wonderful. It's good that you like it. Amano Shima showed a forced smile on her face as she replied with a fake smile. No, I don't like it. Suddenly opening his bright eyes, Dustless said with dissatisfaction, Your smile is uglier than your crying face. How can I be happy? Looks like you can't do it. So, I'm sorry, I can't give Aisha's divine weapon Saint Smile to you. Hearing that, Amano Shima's head was about to explode. On her forehead that was as smooth as jade, a few scary green veins appeared. Are you trying to trick me? Are you planning to eat everything and not admit it? Amano Shima asked furiously. She thought that she had served Dustless wholeheartedly, but this fella directly sent Amano Shima to hell with just a sentence of, I don't like it. How could she continue to swallow this insult? This was too infuriating. Amano Shima saw the satisfied expression of no che clearly just now. Now, he actually said something like, I don't like it. He was obviously trying to bully her shamelessly. Ouch! At this moment, Dustless showed a happy expression. His old face also cooperated and turned pale. Your rash action just now scared me. Now, the blood in my body is flowing 10 times faster, and so is my heart. Hurry up and decompress me. Dustless pretended to be in pain, as he said. However, his sparkling eyes were blinking. It was obvious that Dustless did it on purpose. Hearing that, a hint of anger flashed across Amano Shima's pretty face. Her delicate little hand clenched into a fist under the control of the flame. Using all of her strength, she smashed it towards Dustless. Boom! Seeing this, Dustless smiled disdainfully, raised his fist lazily, and simply caught the wind of Amano Shima's fist. It was soft in his hand, and it felt good to the touch. Originally, Dustless planned to tease Amano Shima. He had used Rinnegan to read Amano Shima's memory. Her life was also extremely miserable. She was just trained as a tool. Now, after Amano Shima made such a scene, it immediately aroused the ambition in Dustless's heart. Amano Shima felt the abnormality of Dustless, and the strength of Dustless's hand increased. She was so scared that she panicked. She used all of her strength to break free from Dustless's restraint. However, the effect was minimal. Resistance didn't win her sympathy. Instead, it led to more cruel treatment. Chapter 1271. Amano Shima was furious, but when she knew that she was setting herself on fire, she quickly stopped. You got on my boat? You still want to run away? Do you think that's possible? Dustless hugged Amano Shima, who refused to obey him, and teased her. The more you struggle, the more interesting I find it. To be honest, compared to those who don't move and are like walking corpses, I prefer young girls like you. That sentence sent Amano Shima straight to hell. Amano Shima stuttered for a long time and couldn't say anything. Her face turned green and white. She was so shocked by Dustless that she couldn't say anything. If you don't say anything, I'll take it as a yes. If that's the case, I'm going to start, Shima. With a sly smile, Dustless didn't give Amano Shima a chance to refute. He immediately opened his mouth and captured Amano Shima's charming lips. Soon, Amano Shima felt a huge pain. Her whole body felt like it was being torn apart. She couldn't help but tear up. In the Supernatural Research Department in Kumo Academy. Welcome to my family. My name is Riaz. Due to her height, Riaz looked down at the blonde girl who was close to her. After secretly sizing her up, Riaz showed a satisfied and gentle smile. She also extended her arm elegantly and politely. My name is Aisha. Please take care of me in the future. The girl also extended her arm politely. The two of them shook hands and smiled at each other. It wasn't hard to see that they had a good relationship. Speaking of which, where's Dustless? The natural kitten asked. That guy is so busy. I rarely see him. Busy? Hearing that, Junai couldn't help but show a bitter smile. Dustless was indeed busy. There was nothing he could do about it. He had so many friends with benefits. Don't worry about him. Before Junai could finish his sentence, a bright light lit up in the dark room. A special magic circle appeared on the ground. Flames flew out from it and floated in the room like a bird. Looks like trouble is here. Damn it. I just settled one problem, and another bigger one appeared. Riaz complained with a headache. When she saw the flames, she already knew who was here. Is this how you greet people? Were the members of the Phoenix family so ill-mannered? Not only did you come uninvited, you even set off fireworks in someone else's house. Are you all immature brats? Riaz's tone was also full of unfriendliness. She was openly mocking him. La 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 la. Riaz, I haven't seen you for a while. How did you become so good at talking? It seems that after abandoning my brother and getting a new fiancé, your temper has become a lot worse. The melodious voice of a young girl came out of the magic array, and a graceful figure appeared in the flames. The girl had fair skin and beautiful features. Her voice was clear and melodious, like an oriole flying out of the valley. She was wearing a pink princess dress, revealing half of her breasts. She had an elegant and noble temperament. Her entrance brought the scene to another climax. La Belle Phoenix's appearance attracted everyone's attention. With a light tap of her foot, she rose into the air and flew out of the magic array like a flower. Her vigorous figure was graceful, and combined with her devastatingly beautiful appearance, it made people feel ashamed of their inferiority. However, Riaz was not interested in her beauty. She knew that this girl was here to cause trouble. Riaz, you've dumped my brother. You got guts, La Belle Phoenix said unhappily. She looked very angry, and her wrinkled little face was filled with anger. However, she did not lose her cute and charming appearance. No matter what expression this young girl made, it was impeccable, and people could not help but indulge in it. Stop trying to intimidate others. So what if I've dumped your brother? Riaz smiled disdainfully. In terms of family power, the Phoenix family could not be compared to the Gimli family. Therefore, she could only ignore La Belle's threat and could not do anything about it. Hearing this, La Belle was also discouraged and snorted. But you've dumped my brother and humiliated the Phoenix family. Perhaps you should at least give us an explanation. This is not too much. Also, please call your fiancé out for me to take a look. To be able to snatch the daughter-in-law of the Phoenix family, he must have a great background. La Belle Phoenix's eyes narrowed slightly, filled with anticipation and curiosity. Tisk, seeing this, Riaz curled her lips in disdain. She instantly understood La Belle Phoenix's intention and exposed her. She said with disdain, instead of saying that you're here to cause trouble, why don't you say that you're here to see who that guy is? The fellow that Riaz spoke of was naturally Dustless without a doubt. Seeing that her intention was exposed, La Belle Phoenix did not feel awkward at all. Instead, she laughed generously. Of course I'm curious about someone who can snatch the daughter-in-law of the Phoenix family. I'm afraid it's not just me. Everyone who knows about this must be curious. After all, your identity is there. You're the Demon King's sister, the future successor of the Gimli family. Seeing this, Riaz only snorted and crossed her arms. In reality, she was also shocked. Dustless had no background, no external help, and was fighting alone. Logically speaking, the chances of him being her husband were zero. However, such an inconceivable thing had happened. What made Riaz even more speechless was Gilifia's anxious look at the same time. She was afraid that she was not good enough for Dustless. This was simply preposterous. Chapter 1272. She was the sister of the Demon King, the future heir of the House of Gimli, yet she was looked down upon by a nobody. Just the thought of it made Riaz feel insulted. She felt that everything was unreal. He doesn't seem to be here. Ripples appeared in her eyes as LaBelle Phoenix looked around. She realized that she could somewhat recognize everyone present. Other than Aisha, who had just joined the group, the others were all Riaz's family members. LaBelle had some impression of them. Where did that guy go? Looking at Riaz suspiciously, LaBelle smiled slyly. Are you saying that guy's looks are a disgrace, and he's the type that would die in the light? That's not it. Dustless is very handsome and very mature. Junai stood out and interrupted. Recalling Dustless's unique aura, he could not help but praise him. He then added, I have to say, Dustless is very charming. He has refreshed my understanding of handsome guys. He's perfect in every aspect. Hey, are you exaggerating? LaBelle glanced at Junai and grumbled unhappily. Is he even human? He's probably a virtual character that you've imagined in your dreams. LaBelle's tone carried a hint of undisguised mockery. I say, at that moment, an extremely discordant voice sounded. It was filled with surprise. Don't tell me that the handsome god you're all talking about is me. Dustless's appearance stunned everyone. The others were still fine, but LaBelle, who saw Dustless for the first time, was instantly mesmerized by Dustless's eyes. Just as Junai said, Dustless looked very young, and his appearance was that of 17 or 18 years old. However, the unique aura of an old man on him was captivating, as if he had lived for hundreds of years. His sparkling eyes were filled with serenity and wisdom, giving people the feeling of being very stable. LaBelle's voice faltered. She looked at Dustless, not knowing what to do for a moment. Ahem, Riaz, no matter what, I'm still a guest. Don't you think you should introduce yourself? You're the heir of the house of Gimli. Don't bring shame to your family. LaBelle aimed her cannon at Riaz and began to bombard her. You're right. Hearing that, Riaz nodded and walked gracefully in front of Dustless. She gently took Dustless's arm and held it tightly, purposely raising her voice. His name is Dustless. He's my deskmate and also my fiancé. Especially when the word fiancé was mentioned, Riaz almost fell into Dustless's arms. Damn it, for no reason at all, I was dragged into this jealous war by the two of them. The noble circle is really messy. Dustless said emotionally as he gently pushed Riaz away. Even though she was as beautiful as a painting, he did not have the time to enjoy it. He had just climbed out of a Monoshima's body, and he was extremely tired. It was as if his body was drained, and he did not have any energy left. LaBelle's little face darkened as she looked at Riaz, who was showing off their affection. She was furious and walked up to Dustless with dissatisfaction. She pointed at her with her hands on her hips and said, What's so special about you? I can't see how you're like my brother. Your brother? Hearing that, Dustless was stunned and said subconsciously, You're talking about that turkey? Puffed. Dustless's words caused a commotion. Everyone smiled. Rizer Phoenix, with his high school hairstyle and expression, as well as his arrogant personality, he is indeed like a proud rooster. You bastard. LaBelle Phoenix was so angry that her face turned red. She glared at Dustless and roared. Take back what you said just now and apologize to me. Or else, I will never forgive you. Remembering Dustless's current status, LaBelle was very cautious. Killing the son-in-law of the Gimli family was not a small crime. Apologize? Hearing that, Dustless couldn't help but laugh. When it came to controversial issues like right and wrong, he had always been the victor. No matter what, it was always others who apologized to him. Sorry, I'm a stubborn person. I don't like to apologize. You don't like me calling him a buddy, right? I'm going to say it now. Turkey, 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 turkey. The whole room was filled with the words turkey, full of provocation. LaBelle's little face darkened, and the smell of gunpowder was thick. You're playing with fire. LaBelle Phoenix emitted large amounts of flames, and the room instantly became hot and dry. Above her head, flames danced, filled with a destructive aura. You can fight with me, but I'm afraid the price is not something you can afford. If you lose, you might lose everything. It's like this when you fight with me. There must be a wager. Afraid that LaBelle wouldn't agree, Dustless threw out an olive branch to tempt her. If you win, you can do whatever you want to me. Kill me or torture me without complaint. Are you sure you won't regret it? A strange look flashed across LaBelle's eyes. She was obviously greedy. If she could win Ria's fiancé, she would definitely be able to humiliate her in the future. But what do I have to pay if I lose? No matter what, she was still the eldest daughter of the Phoenix family. She didn't panic because of this easy-to-eat pie. Instead, she was still a little cautious. I'm not asking for much. Dustless moved his exhausted body and said, I'm not asking for much either. My back has been hurting lately, and I just need a servant to massage my legs. Chapter 1273. Hearing that, everyone looked at Dustless blankly. The seriousness on his face made it clear that he was not joking. You want me to be your servant? You sure have guts. I'm afraid I'll scare you to death if I tell you this. I'm the eldest daughter of the Phoenix family. You want me to be your servant? Unless you're a god. The young girl sneered angrily, and on the other hand, she tried her best to ridicule Wu Chun for overestimating himself. What a coincidence. According to what you're saying, you're more suited to be my servant, Miss Libel. Or are you afraid to take the bet? You don't have the confidence to win against me. Looks like your Phoenix family is just SOSO. You're just a small family that talks big. Dustless attacked mercilessly, purposely fanning the flames of Libel's anger. Someone as arrogant as her would definitely view her family's glory as her life. What did you say? As expected, Libel was like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. She almost jumped up and bared her fangs at Dustless. Since you want to play so much, I'll play with you this once. Ugh, you want to be someone else's servant instead of being a young mistress. Zhu Nai closed her eyes in despair. She knew that another beautiful young lady was about to fall, but she couldn't be bothered to stop her. After all, LaBelle was the one asking for it. At the same time, she didn't like this overbearing young lady asking for it. Everyone shook their heads hopelessly. They were bored by Libel's joke. This girl was just playing with fire and digging her own grave. I also hope that Miss Libel can win. A strange sound came from Dustless's throat. After looking at Libel for a few seconds, he smiled like a spring breeze. This girl is probably here for Rias. If she can get me, she'll be able to annoy Rias in the future. These young girls sure have nothing better to do. Dustless could not help but sigh in his heart. With his ability to observe people, he understood Libel's intentions almost instantly. However, Dustless would not reject someone who came to him voluntarily. What does Mademoiselle LaBelle intend to compete in? Sitting on the sofa, Dustless leisurely crossed his legs. Beside him, Rias was silent, as if everything had nothing to do with her. Dustless was annoyed. You're fine after using me? You should at least show some appreciation. Dustless got close to Rias and ambushed her while she was taking a nap. Who is it? Realizing that she was being hugged, Rias opened her eyes and shot out a chilling glare. Bastard! My goddess! Seeing this scene, Issei Kudo, who had no sense of existence, exploded with anger like never before. Looking at Dustless and Rias hugging each other, he did not feel good. No one would feel good when their goddess was in someone else's arms, especially Dustless, who was Rias' fiancé. He was the one who tortured Brother Chung, who was single. Rias glared at him. She did not expect Dustless to be so bold. TSK, you only know how to kick me away after using me? There's no such thing in this world. Rias, I'm your fiancé. Wu Chun smiled maliciously. His misty eyes silently indicated that if it weren't for the fact that there were too many people around, he would definitely have done Rias on the spot and devoured her bones. You two, that's enough. Don't ignore me. Libel roared with a red face. There was a need to pick a time and place to show affection. As the young mistress of the Phoenix family, Libel could not take it that he ignored her. At the very least, she should feel how he felt. Let's have a match. If you can beat me, I'll be your servant from now on. Libel put her hands on her hips. Her domineering look made her look like a woman. No problem. Dustless nodded lightly and let go of Rias, whose face was red. Let's end this quickly. I've been working for a long time. With that, Dustless's eyelids twitched. He wanted to sleep. You? I won't let you off for looking down on others. Libel gritted her teeth in anger. She looked like she was about to explode. How did Dustless look like he was having a match? That sloppy look was obviously perfunctory. It was as if his opponent was a newbie who had just joined. It was a silent humiliation. Dustless was unmoved. He left with Libel and headed to the sparsely populated field. After a few minutes of walking, the few of them arrived at an open field. You win if you can make me step back, Libel said proudly. Hearing that, Dustless smiled and retorted, You win if you can touch my body. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Libel's eyes shot out a cold light. Large amounts of flames erupted from her body and attacked Dustless like raindrops. How boring, seeing that. Dustless put his hands in his pockets. After a sigh, he raised his right leg lazily. Light flickered. The oppressive golden light was extremely dazzling. Everyone closed their eyes, not daring to look at that sharp light. Lightspeed kick. A straight beam of cold light shot out and disappeared in the blink of an eye like a shooting star. Boom, boom, boom. Violent explosions erupted. The flames that Libel used were like drizzle. The aftershock of the lightspeed kick's explosion vaporized them. Not only that, the field that Dustless and Libel used for their match was also pierced through. You bastard. Riaz was furious. Not only Libel, even she was caught off guard and ate a mouthful of dirt. She glared at Dustless fiercely. Sorry, I didn't do it on purpose. It's really hard to control one's strength. I've already suppressed the power of the lightspeed kick to the limit. Who knew that it would cause this kind of trouble? Dustless had an innocent look on his face, as if he had been wronged. Chapter 1274. Hearing Dustless's honest ridicule, everyone was petrified. They all looked down at the charred ground as if their souls had been sucked out. That charred pit was like looking at the sun up close. Their glasses were stinging. Oh, Miss Laybell, you've already lost. Now, please perform the jump and come over here to massage my waist and legs. Really, these few days have been very tiring. Dustless sighed with emotion as he continued to order Libel. He gave off the feeling of a petty person intoxicated by success. You're dreaming. I haven't lost yet. Laybell gritted her teeth and stood up. She had originally planned to admit defeat, but Dustless's smiling face deeply provoked her. Especially when he mentioned massage my waist and legs, Laybell stood up as if she had been electrocuted. She could not accept such a cruel reality. Absolutely not. Becoming Dustless's slave meant that she had to agree to all sorts of things. How could she, as the eldest daughter of the Phoenix family, put her face? She could not compromise. You still intend to resist. Seeing the madness in Laybell's eyes, Dustless could not help but shake his head. It was not that he looked down on Laybell, but the gap between them was just too big. No matter how hard the little chick worked, no matter how diligently she studied, she could not compare to an eagle soaring in the sky. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, a gust of cold wind suddenly blew. Laybell suddenly felt chilly. You bastard, you're doing this on purpose. Laybell was stunned. She subconsciously looked at her body and realized that her white wrists were already exposed to the air. This is just a warning. If you continue to fight with me, perhaps all your clothes will be burned off. Dustless chuckled. His words contained an undisguised threat. I won't give up even then. Laybell was still stubbornly unwilling to give up. The magic power that had been stagnant in her body once again increased tremendously. It erupted ferociously without end. The flames on her body also became more and more enchanting. Looks like it's not bad. Dustless rubbed his chin with interest. A golden light suddenly appeared on his fingertips. He glanced at Laybell and then shot out with all his might. Lasers. The unstoppable beam of light shot out and penetrated Libel's body without any resistance. This kind of attack is useless. I was just careless and got hit by you. A thumb-sized crack appeared where Laybell's wound had been, thanks to Dustless's attack. However, Laybell was not affected at all. Her wounds began to heal slowly in the next second. The Phoenix family has the body of the immortal bird. At the same time, they also have their special characteristics, immortality. No matter what kind of attack they receive, they will regenerate immediately. Their blood can make them immortal, and their tears can heal all injuries. Rhea stood up and explained, her tone carrying a hint of admiration. It sounds very powerful. Dustless rubbed his chin. Although he said so, his expression was frivolous. It was obvious that he deliberately said it to satisfy the vanity of this girl who thought highly of herself. Since you know how strong we are, then surrender quickly. Libel's tone was incomparably arrogant, revealing a sense of superiority. You want me to surrender? Hearing that, Dustless could not help but laugh. His body suddenly erupted with a unique aura. Those who were affected by it all had a drastic change in expression. Boom, boom, boom. The extremely oppressive aura soared into the sky, unstoppable. Libel, who was intimidated by the aura, immediately panicked. Her calm eyes changed from the calmness from before to extreme fear. She was shocked to find that there was an extremely domineering aura covering her body. With just a will or a casual sneeze, she would be killed instantly. Unable to take it anymore, Libel almost fainted from suffocation. Plop! After holding on for a few seconds, Libel finally collapsed to the ground. Her eyes lost focus, and the gaze she looked at Dustless with was replaced by fear. This guy must be the unknown, mysterious Demon King who has regained his youth. Suddenly, such a ridiculous thought appeared in Libel's mind. Although it was a little unrealistic, Libel was sure that Dustless was the reincarnation of some ancient big shot. Otherwise, how could he be so powerful? Judging from his appearance, he was only a young man of 17 or 18 years old. Miss Libel, are you going to carry out the agreement now? Dustless said lazily and frivolously. He was not afraid of her rejection and said threateningly, of course, if you still don't agree to it, I don't care. However, your family might be in for a bad time. Do you have the demeanor of a powerhouse? Libel was extremely furious. Her nose was crooked from anger. Dustless was an unparalleled powerhouse, yet he did not have the slightest bit of demeanor or magnanimity. He actually dared to be angry with a teenage girl. Of course not. Dustless shrugged and replied frankly, I don't care about that kind of thing. In short, I know that I have a little maid called Libel Phoenix in the future. I won't restrict your actions, and you can run away if you want. There's a saying in my hometown, the monk can run away, but the temple can't. If you're not afraid of my revenge on the Phoenix family, you can try to run away. After saying that, Dustless leisurely left. Although Libel's personality was a little arrogant and seemed to be very willful, she could definitely tell the danger of such a thing. If she ran away or rejected Dustless's conditions, the Phoenix family would suffer his revenge. Chapter 1275. Libel Phoenix was trembling with anger. She dared not voice her anger, and could only endure it silently. Phew! This farce ends here. Let's disperse. Riaz waved her hand and spoke with the authority of a superior. Junai, you wouldn't mind having a servant in the house, would you? Dustless walked up to Junai lazily while holding Libel's little hand. Shouldn't you be thanking me for having a little maid to clean your room in the future? Junai squirmed when she heard this. She glanced at Dustless with a conflicted expression. Then she said to Libel, if you really want to come, you'll have a place to stay. I'll go home and clean up a clean room for you. With that, Junai skipped away happily. Don't think that I'll let you go just because Junai said that, my cute spoils of war. Dustless pinched Libel's smooth cheeks. The latter glanced at him and tried her best to avoid him. If you avoid the responsibility of being a maid, I'll take my revenge on your family. That sentence pulled Libel back. Not only that, she even approached Dustless of her own accord. She put on a smile that was uglier than a bitter one. She was afraid that this great Devil King would come to the underworld and cause trouble for the Phoenix family. An ordinary Devil King would definitely not do that. However, it was a different story if the target was Dustless. Time passed. In the blink of an eye, it was night. Libel followed dustless home. Junai tidied up LaBelle's room considerately. The facilities were complete. She did not treat her like a maid, but more like a friend. Creak. The door was pushed open softly. Dustless and LaBelle stepped in. Dustless looked around. He did not see Junai anywhere. There were only steaming dishes on the table. Perhaps Junai had something to do and had left. Dustless, you shut up. I told you before that you're not allowed to call me by my name. Call me master, understand? Looks like if I don't punish you accordingly, you'll never be able to change this bad habit of yours. Dustless said unhappily with a straight face, but in his heart, he was thinking about how to punish LaBelle. Forget it. I won't make things difficult for you. Go and give me a bottle of hot water. Help me wash my feet. You'd better hurry before I change my mind. If I change my mind, I can deny it at any time. Countless veins appeared on LaBelle's forehead when she heard that. As the eldest daughter of the Phoenix family, it had always been others who did their best to help her wash her feet. When had she ever helped others? Especially the person he hated the most. You don't plan to do it? Looks like you're going to violate the previous agreement again. All right, I'll go to the underworld to look for her. I promise you. Before Dustless could finish his sentence, Libel had no choice but to agree. It's just washing my feet. It's no big deal. Libel comforted herself nervously, feeling lost about the future. She had come here to denounce Riaz with the intention of humiliating her, but in the end, she had somehow angered an unprecedented big shot. She had even sacrificed herself to become his personal maid. She had even threatened to destroy the Phoenix family that she belonged to from time to time. Just thinking about it made LaBelle furious. The contrast between before and after was just too fast, so fast that she found it hard to accept. She pouted and glanced at Dustless. After calming herself down, LaBelle calmly went to get the water to wash her feet. It's not bad to be the maid of Powerhouse. It's better than being a sacrifice for a marriage alliance between families in the future. LaBelle comforted herself with a mesmerizing smile on her face. Not bad. You've changed your mood very quickly. Dustless saw the change in LaBelle. The smile on her face was like a budding flower, attracting Dustless's attention. She quickly fetched a basin of hot water and looked embarrassedly at Wu Chun, who was sitting with his legs crossed. Finally, she took a deep breath of cold air and stabilized her fluctuating heart. Then, she calmly walked over. She reached out her slender fingers, and in that instant, it was as if she had truly become a maid. She calmly took off Dustless's shoes and socks and agilely pressed his feet into the hot water. What are your thoughts on washing someone's feet for the first time? At least say something. Seeing LaBelle standing there like a corpse without saying anything, Dustless could only take the initiative to say, "It's against the rules if you don't give me a reasonable explanation." LaBelle felt a headache coming on when she heard that. She had thought that she was hard to please, but she suddenly felt that compared to Dustless, she was too kind in the past. "I can't really describe how I feel, but I don't hate it," LaBelle said bluntly as she gently rubbed Dustless's feet with her palms. "You don't hate it? Even if you hate it, you wouldn't dare to say it out loud," Dustless said disdainfully. He then closed his eyes and enjoyed the massage. LaBelle seemed to know everything since birth. She controlled the strength of her slender fingers perfectly, making people unable to stop themselves from being deeply immersed in it. LaBelle clearly had no interest in answering Dustless's question. She focused on washing Dustless's feet with warm water, looking very professional. Seeing that LaBelle was ignoring him, Dustless tactfully shut his mouth. He wasn't so bored that he would stick his hot face to someone's cold, but perhaps it was because he was too tired, but Dustless quickly fell asleep under LaBelle's meticulous care. He slept all the way until the next morning. When he woke up, the sun was already high in the sky. Chapter 1276. When he woke up from his dream, he was shocked to find that he was still on the same sofa as yesterday. Hey, are you kidding me? You're my maid. How can you leave your master on the sofa? What if I catch a cold? That's a big problem. Dustless, who was wearing a simple shirt, protested to Libel, who was busying herself. The key is that you don't have a cold or a fever. Libel had a pitiful look on her face as she ignored Dustless's protest and continued to prepare breakfast. TSK, TSK. This outfit is not bad. You didn't buy it on purpose to rope me in, did you? Dustless looked at Libel's new pajamas with a satisfied look on his face. Don't overthink it. This is nice. Libel's face turned red as if she noticed Dustless's invasive gaze. Everything happened so suddenly that she became Dustless's maid without any preparation. She was even brought into the house by Junai without bringing any facilities with her. Everything she used was Junai's. Junai's? She does have such a heavy taste. Dustless suddenly realized that Libel's pajamas were almost transparent. It was completely black with obvious lace at the cuffs. As Libel moved, her pale skin could be vaguely seen. Era, is it really okay for you to talk about me like this? How am I a heavy taste? Dustless, tell me about it. A pungent fragrance came from behind. Dustless turned around and saw Junai hugging his head with a smile. She rubbed his head and asked jokingly, "How did it feel yesterday? I bet you had a good time with Miss Libel." Good time? Dustless shook his head when he heard that. He was so tired yesterday that he did not even manage to touch her before he fell asleep, let alone have a good time. Looks like it's not bad. After putting on his slippers, Dustless glanced at the dazzling array of food on the table. Dustless nodded inwardly. Today's breakfast was much more sumptuous than usual. Of course, the food you've been eating in the past was too monotonous. It's necessary to add the right amount of food, LaBelle said, as if it was a matter of course. Dustless turned around and left. He hadn't washed his face and brushed his teeth. If he wasted any more time, he might be late again. The third year of Chariot King Academy. You finally arrived earlier than me today. What miracle! Riaz, who had just stepped into the classroom, was shocked. It was her first time seeing Dustless arrive before her. Ahem, there's no need to be so surprised. Dustless waved at Riaz awkwardly, ignoring the jealous eyes of the other men around him as he pulled Riaz to the side to sit down. Who asked them to be desk mates? By the way, I have something to tell you. Before Dustless could say anything, Riaz said in a serious tone, LaBelle's status is not ordinary. You forced her to be a maid, and that has attracted a lot of attention? So fast. Don't tell me someone is spreading the news on purpose? F***CK, there's a mole. Dustless was speechless. It was just yesterday's news, and he instinctively suspected that someone was spreading the news on purpose. Riaz was shocked by Dustless's sudden action. After she recovered, she explained, LaBelle is the eldest daughter of the Phoenix family. Her status is noble, and it's only a matter of time before someone finds out. What we need to worry about is not this, but the next problem. The next problem? There's no such thing as a problem in my life. Any problem that gives me a headache is a small matter that I can easily solve. Dustless said nonchalantly as he rested his head on the table, looking like he was about to fall asleep again. Bastard, you better wake up. Riaz did not know whether to laugh or cry. Her head hurt, and she could not help but think of Gilifia's words that Dustless always said. You're even harder to please than the Demon King. Riaz could not help but sigh. Looking at Dustless now, she suddenly felt that this sentence was too apt to describe him. Don't tell me it's LaBelle's family. If they want to take her away, they can try. I don't care. Dustless acted like he was unmoved by force or persuasion. He just smiled at the so-called Phoenix family and did not take it to heart. He ignored it like a joke. It's not the Phoenix family. Your high profile has attracted the attention of the underworld, and I have to tell you seriously that the person who is looking for trouble this time is in the Horse King Academy. It's our student council president, Jitsu Kangna. Riaz's words were shocking. Dustless also made a rare expression of surprise. He rubbed his chin and said, Student council president? I've never paid attention to her, but I heard that her sister is one of the Demon Kings like your brother. Interesting. Interesting. Hearing that, Riaz's face darkened. If this matter was not handled properly, they might offend a Demon King, and the severe consequences were no joke. But speaking of which, I need to find out how I offended the student council president, who is Jitsu Kangna. Dustless looked like a curious baby, expressing that he really did not understand. He was not afraid of enemies, but being made a scapegoat for no reason, who would not be happy about it. It's hard not to notice. You destroyed the school field with a kick and turned LaBelle into a maid. If I were the student council president, I would also pay attention to you. You have only yourself to blame. Chapter 1277. Dustless smiled at Riaz's sarcasm. He was more or less interested in Ji Chu's song and that devil's sister. Then why are they looking for me? Riaz, I'm your future husband. You won't just watch me get caught, right? Dustless said with a tone that said, if anything happens to me, you should come and protect me. Hearing that, Riaz's delicate face flashed with awkwardness. Her watery eyes looked around, and after making sure that no one heard them, she finally quieted down. In public, don't say that we're engaged, Riaz said sternly, but Dustless did not seem to mind. Sure, but you don't talk to me about a duel. I won't duel with you. Riaz shook her head like a wavy ghost. Without even thinking, she rejected Dustless's condition. LaBelle was a good example. Catch you? That's not going to happen. Of course, I won't leave you alone. Riaz gave him a comforting look, but deep in her eyes, there was a hint of schadenfreude. She actually hoped that Dustless and Ji Chu's would have a conflict. They'll come and invite me after school, right? Dustless suddenly asked. Invite you. Hearing that, Riaz's face darkened. She said unhappily, you want her, the president of the student council, to invite you? Are you dreaming? That's really disappointing. Wu Chen muttered disappointedly. Then, he didn't care anymore and started to sleep as usual. This time, he fell asleep. Ding, ding, ding. When it was close to noon, the school bell rang. Riaz pushed Dustless, who was snoring. Get up, they all let go of me. Riaz screamed unexpectedly. Caught off guard, Wu Chen grabbed her hand and placed it on top of her head like a pillow. This feeling, TSK, not bad. Dustless closed his eyes and mumbled in his sleep, his face full of comfort. Hey, what kind of person is this guy? Riaz sighed as she stared at Dustless's sleeping face. His skin was smoother and fairer than a woman's, and Riaz could not help but pinch it. Very bouncy, Riaz said in surprise. She couldn't help but increase the force. You got guts. You dare to pinch my face? Dustless suddenly opened his eyes and stared at Riaz with a half-smile. His shifty eyes darted around, and while Riaz was distracted, he suddenly got up and pulled her into his arms. Even if you want to cause trouble, you have to look at the situation first. This is a teacher, Liyasi panted and said. She was hugged tightly by Wu Chen. Her whole body was soft, and she did not have any strength to move. Riaz even noticed that a pair of small hands had invaded her body when she was not paying attention, teasing her legs. It was as cunning as Dustless himself, deliberately teasing her. So you're saying that we can cause trouble in other situations? Dustless ignored Riaz's protest. His face was attacked, and it was a huge loss. If he did not get it back, it would be a huge loss. You despicable guy, you know that's not what I meant. Riaz scolded. Seeing that Dustless ignored her and continued to explore her body, Riaz had no choice but to release her magic to clear Dustless' mind. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Riaz was like a leak, and blood-red magic kept leaking out of her body, forming a dark red magic mist that covered Dustless' body. It even had the characteristics of lightning. Smack! 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 The magic released a scorching attack, destroying Dustless' body. But what made Riaz break down was that Dustless did not even react. Yes, right there, use more force. I fell asleep last night, and that little maid, LaBelle, was lazy and did not bathe me, so my body was itchy. But Riaz, your lightning was beautiful, and my body stopped itching immediately. Not bad. Use more force. Wu Chen closed his eyes and enjoyed it. His demeanor was floating. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Riaz almost vomited blood when she heard that. She widened her eyes and looked at Dustless as if she was looking at a monster. Her eyes were filled with shock, and she asked quietly, Are you sure your body is getting more and more comfortable and not being whipped by the magic power? The two of you didn't go home after school and instead stayed in the classroom to flirt. This is a big problem. A calm voice with a hint of dissatisfaction was suddenly heard. A girl wearing glasses and a uniform of the Coal King Academy appeared at the door of the classroom. She happened to see what happened just now. This person was the president of the student council, Chico Tsangna. Ah, Miss Tsangna. Oh, your real name should be Tsangna Sidi, but I still like the name Tsangna. Let me ask you this weakly, hiding at the door and peeking at other couples. Why are you so thick-skinned? Dustless saw Tsangna appear and nodded secretly. She was also a beauty. Her skin was white and beautiful, and her body was very well proportioned. The parts that should be perky were not lying down, and the parts that should be perky were even more perky, especially her wise eyes, which added a unique, mature aura to the girl. She exuded the aura of a noble, like a well-read queen. You said I'm thick-skinned? Chico Tsangna's mouth twitched, and she glared at Dustless with fire in her eyes. Even Riaz was shocked by Dustless's words, let alone Chico Tsangna herself. Although it was a little shameless to eavesdrop on other couples, you should not say it out loud. Chapter 1278. Cho Kang's face twitched violently as her magic went berserk. As the Demon King's sister, everyone who saw her would be fearful of her, or at least respectful. Now, Dustless actually said, how can you be so thick-skinned? How will she have a foothold in the future? Ew. However, Cho Kang's tragedy was that just as she was about to finish her sentence, it was interrupted by Dustless's sudden change of events. What about me? Eavesdropping and peeking at others flirting? Don't you think it's very rude? Before you ask others, please apologize first, or I will refuse to answer all of your questions. Miss Cho Kang. Dustless showed another side of him other than his powerful strength. His poisonous mouth was still unforgiving as he said, of course, if you're the kind of person with no manners and vulgar taste, it's fine if you don't apologize. Similarly, I will not answer any of your questions. Dustless's words were like a sharp tooth that pierced deeply into Cho Kang's heart. Don't push your luck. The usually wise Cho Kang's tone had a rare touch of anger. After she glared at Silver, the accumulated anger in her heart also disappeared. I'm sorry, just now. Recalling Dustless and Riaz's intimate actions just now, Cho Kang's little face turned red, and a flash of embarrassment flashed across her face. She said, I'm really sorry for interrupting the two of you. Please don't forgive me. The girl's actions were elegant and calm and generous. Her expression was carefree, as if nothing had happened just now. This girl, I wanted to deliberately make things difficult for her, but I didn't expect her to really apologize. I couldn't tell that this little girl is quite magnanimous. Dustless glanced at Cho Kang and couldn't help but treat her differently. Miss Cho Kang, please speak your mind. With a smile, Dustless hugged Riaz in his arms and played with her. He also asked Cho Kang a question, her half-hearted attitude making him angry. What does this girl do? Although she's not bad-looking and seems to be quite strong, is her charm that great? What's with Riaz's uncontrollable look? Chikusa Tsangna frowned. Faced with Dustless's teasing, Chikusa Tsangna could see that Riaz was secretly delighted despite her disgusted expression. After all, she and Riaz have been close friends for many years. Since that's the case, I'll be frank. Ignoring Riaz's coquettish voice, he asked Tsangna, please give me a reasonable explanation for your background. I'll let you in because... At this point, Jichu Tsangna paused and glanced at Riaz. This was all because of her, but now this B*TCH was flirting in someone else's arms. Outrageous. I don't have any background. I'm just an ordinary solo cultivator. There's no need for me to be bothered by such trivial matters. Dustless answered frankly without any falsehood. However, these words infuriated Ji Chu Tsang. How could you be so strong without a single faction backing you? Forget it. Ji Chu Tsang sighed and stopped dwelling on this issue. She thought of LaBelle and said sternly, you must release Miss LaBelle immediately. Letting her be your maid may hurt the dignity of the various families in the underworld. It may even lead to war. Release her? Hearing this, Dustless's lips curled into a mocking smile. He teased, "What if I don't release her? You, don't push your luck. Figure out what kind of person is standing in front of you." Seeing how arrogant Dustless was, Ji-Chu Song-na's family could not sit still. They had tolerated Dustless enough, but they did not expect this guy to be so arrogant. He did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. Perhaps in the eyes of this group of people, the so-called Demon King is invincible. How sad, Dustless laughed inwardly. Not to mention a mere Demon King. Even if 10 Demon Kings were stacked together, he would not be afraid. They were not existences of the same dimension at all. I don't care who you are. Remember this clearly. I hate it when people threaten me. I will not release LaBelle. I will take her as my maid. If you want to use any means, feel free to do as you please. With that, Dustless closed his eyes and acted like a dead pig that was not afraid of boiling water. He looked very shameless. It's rare to see someone as insensible as you. Ji-Chu Song-na was not as irritable as the other family members. She was calm and did not beat around the bush. She went straight to the point. Miss LaBelle is the eldest daughter of the Phoenix family. It's not appropriate for you to forcefully transfer her to be your maid. It's very likely that it will lead to unnecessary turmoil in the underworld. Ji-Chu Song-na's tone was wise and full of philosophy. Everyone could not help but agree with her. Everything she said was reasonable. However, Dustless was a lump of iron. He did not listen to her at all. As expected of Song-na, her methods are indeed extraordinary. She's obviously trying to tell Dustless that taking LaBelle as his maid is going against the entire underworld. She's using her power to oppress him and cast herself in a position where she is not involved. She's playing it very well. Riaz was genuinely impressed. Song's cleverness was well known. At the same time, Riaz looked at Dustless with a serious expression. She was looking forward to his answer. Facing the entire underworld, anyone would be afraid and choose to compromise. How boring. Shrimp soldiers, crab generals, whatever. Come to me all at once. I don't have to go door to door to find her. Even if you don't find it tiring, I do. Dustless stretched his body and gave an answer that no one expected. Although we're in the same world, I'm fundamentally different from you. I'll only repeat this for the last time. I'm as high as the sky is. I'm as strong as God is. Chapter 1279. In the face of such arrogant words, even someone as wise and calm as Takakona couldn't help but burst into laughter. Forgive me for being blunt. Ji-Chu Song stared at Dustless for a long time, but he did not see any hidden depths or a place where there was a peerless master. Instead, it was very wretched, especially when Dustless's hands and feet were very unscrupulous when he sneaked up on Riaz. His mouth would even curl up into a wretched smile. If there was some saliva left, he would definitely be a weird uncle. In my eyes, you're just a despicable person who only knows how to take advantage of girls. Takakona mocked mercilessly. She originally wanted to settle this matter peacefully, but since Dustless didn't know what was good for him, then forget it. President is right. That's right, I can see it too. He is a wretched, despicable person. Together with Huda Issei and the other two, they can form the Oku Four. Senior Ryath must have been deceived by this guy. What did he do to win Senior Ryath's favor? He must be a liar. Takakona's subordinates immediately started to criticize Dustless. They didn't like Dustless's arrogance from the start. Since Takakona had already started to criticize him, they wouldn't hold back. You guys, Dustless couldn't help but touch his chin when he saw this, and a mocking expression appeared on his face. Then why don't we have a duel? With a sly look on his face, Dustless suggested. Bring it on. Who is afraid of you? Hearing the confidence in Dustless's tone, Takakona's subordinates weren't happy. They all rushed to agree to Dustless's challenge. Among them, Takakona's queen, Shinra Chuanji, was the most enthusiastic. So that you won't say that we are bullying you with numbers, I will fight you one-on-one. Shinra Chuanji stood out resolutely. Her bright eyes looked like she wanted to teach Dustless a lesson. Your looks are not bad, but your strength is not worthy of praise. Dustless ignored everyone and sighed. What did you say? Hearing that, Shinra Chuanji's eyes flashed with anger. Dustless actually dared to mock her in front of so many people. Shinra Chuanji's arrogant heart couldn't take it. As a subordinate of the Cult King Academy's president, there was no need to doubt his strength. Idiot, you're the one who challenged me. Don't regret it. Dustless chuckled to himself. Just as he was thinking about how to deal with Shinra Chuanji, he suddenly recalled a special skill of Hyodo Kazunari's. You asked for it. Dustless glanced at Shinra Chuanji and slightly revealed his aura. A formless pressure enveloped Shinra Chuanji. Her expression changed drastically. An indescribable pressure suppressed her, causing her to break out in cold sweat. Ka-ka-ka. A crisp sound suddenly rang out, and the sky was suddenly filled with snowflakes. Ah! A few seconds later, Shinra Chuanji's shriek rang out, causing one scalp to go numb. Looking straight at her, he saw that her clothes were all torn apart. TSK. Brother Hyodo's clothes disintegration is indeed a good skill. Dustless smiled evilly. At the same time, he comforted her. It's all right, Miss Shinra. You don't have to mind it. I promise I won't peek at you. However, is the topic of our competition about taking off clothes? Is the one who takes it off faster the winner? If so, I'm going to take off my clothes too. After saying that, Dustless ignored everyone's stunned gaze and started to take off his clothes. Dustless had obviously undergone special training. In just a blink of an eye, Dustless was only left with his underwear. Stop it right now, Shinra Chuanji exclaimed. She was shocked by Dustless's actions. Seeing that Dustless was about to take off his last piece of clothing, they would really be naked. Isn't this a stripping competition? Wu Chun pretended to be at a loss and said, making everyone speechless. You! Shinra Chuanji glared fiercely at Dustless. She was so frustrated that she almost vomited blood. Although she did not have any evidence to prove that Dustless was the culprit, in this big room, who else would do such a thing other than Dustless? It was obvious who the culprit was. Then, are you still going to compete? Dustless shrugged and asked in a bored manner. He was hoping to have some fun with this group of people, but he did not expect that he would almost collapse after just a short while. Their ability to resist attacks was a little too weak. Competition? Hearing that, the faces of Zhuangna and the others darkened. They were filled with fear. If Dustless was a normal person and could compete fairly, they would not mind at all. However, Shinra Chuanji's tragic experience made everyone suspicious. If they participated in this so-called competition, they might end up like Shinra Chuanji. I have no interest in competing with you. You have to give me Miss LaBelle today, or I'll take other measures. Don't doubt my words. If you think I'm joking, you will not be able to bear the consequences. Zhuangna said straightforwardly to Dustless. She suddenly realized that there was no need for her to talk nonsense. Her sister was one of the 4 great demon kings. Was there a need for her to be afraid of an unknown clown? Are you planning to use force? Wu Chun said in surprise. At the same time, her face outlined a faint smile of successful plot. If she could take advantage of this opportunity to take down Jichu Tsang, then her sister would definitely come out. To be honest, Wu Chun was full of expectations for the Demon King. Chapter 1280. In this world, creatures like Demon Kings were almost deified. They were the synonym of omnipotence, as though they could easily deal with anything in this world. Dustless, who did not believe in superstition, wanted to experience the might of the Demon King myself. Aren't you relying on your Demon King's sister? Even she is going to be in trouble this time. Compared to the worried Rias, Dustless was laughing happily. I almost clapped my hands and laughed. The two of you, it's not appropriate for you to ignore me like this. A magic circle similar to the one label used before appeared. Then a frivolous, arrogant, and condescending voice sounded from it. This guy is... Riaz's face darkened. The smell of flames assaulted her face. The surrounding temperature immediately rose, and a destructive aura filled the air. I don't need you to tell me who he is. Looking at his retarded hairstyle and his ability that is infinitely similar to Laebel's, I know that he is Laebel's brother. Am I right, Riaz? Dustless waved his hand and told Riaz that he already knew who this idiot with blonde hair who looked like a turkey was, even without the introduction. Laebel's brother was no doubt Rizel Phoenix. What did you call me? Within the flames, a dissatisfied voice sounded. It was filled with endless anger, mixed with killing intent and hatred. Riaz, you didn't hesitate to offend the Phoenix family just for this perverted guy? Looking at Riaz with dissatisfaction, Rizel Phoenix stepped out of the flames. You said I'm perverted? Hearing that, Dustless's face was filled with ridicule. This playboy called him perverted, but he was the perverted demon. That was removed by my brother. If you want to find trouble, please go find Sazex Jamonli. Riaz was unmoved. She purposely leaned into Dustless's arms with a blissful expression. Quite naughty. Seeing that, Dustless smiled. He knew that Riaz was purposely trying to piss off the Firebird. Dustless did not hold back. He immediately pulled Riaz into his arms. In front of Kangna, Rizel Phoenix, and the others, he lightly tapped her forehead. You two, Riaz and Dustless's intimacy, regardless of the occasion, immediately triggered the anger in Rizel Phoenix's heart. This was a blatant slap to his face. Originally, he was the one who pulled Riaz into his arms, but now it was Dustless. Every time he thought of this, Rizel would feel aggrieved. Because he was the young master of the Phoenix family, everyone was afraid of him. Even if he were to be cuckolded, he would be the one to be cuckolded. This was the first time he experienced this feeling that he had never felt before. His heart was broken. I want to participate in this competition too. Clenching his fist, Rizel Phoenix vowed, I still want to win back my sister. Does this idiot know how to speak after suffering a concussion? What does he take her sister for? Is she a commodity? Riaz was speechless. She could not help but rejoice for her future. Dustless's personality was a little weird, but at least he was reliable. After all, Riaz's strength was what she relied on. Even if he looked a little bad and a little too much, it was not a big problem. You don't have the chance to participate. Glancing at Rizel Phoenix, Dustless solemnly declared, You think I don't have the chance just because you say so? You think you're the judge? Rizel Phoenix sneered. He completely ignored Dustless's words and turned a deaf ear to them. Dustless looked at Phoenix in surprise and said without hiding anything, How smart. I'm the judge. Now I say you can go home and sleep. What did you say? Hearing that, Rizel Phoenix was enraged. His hair stood on end. Even the Demon King was not as arrogant as this guy. He actually dared to tell him to go home and sleep. This was ridiculous. Don't you understand? Because you're going to be eliminated now. Dustless calmly raised his leg and gathered a majestic flash. The extremely dazzling light made people instinctively take a step back. Lightspeed kick. A straight ray shot out. It was so fast that no living creature could see it. Just like its name, Lightspeed kick. Boom, boom, boom. The ground where Rizel Phoenix was standing was mercilessly kicked by Dustless. A deep scorched pit instantly appeared. The violent energy fluctuations caused the entire Coal King Academy to tremble. This guy is really a monster. He used the same move to crush Labelle's confidence last time. This time it's Rizel again. If I'm not wrong, thinking of that, Riaz could not help but look at the dazed Chiqua Kangna. If she was not wrong, she would be the next unlucky one. The black pit on the ground was a shocking sight. It lingered in everyone's mind. Chiqua Kangna and the others were especially heavy. They had wanted to take Dustless for themselves. Now that the other party had displayed his super strong combat power, Chiqua Kangna and her family's impassioned hearts felt like they had been splashed with a bucket of cold water. Such a powerful monster was not something they could fight against. Hee, you want to defeat me? Stop dreaming. Do you think an ordinary person like you can understand the physique that the Phoenix family is proud of? It's impossible for you to defeat me with this kind of ordinary physical attack. Riser's shattered body was instantly repaired. He laughed arrogantly. As the saying goes, extreme joy begets sorrow. Before he could be arrogant for long, Rissel's laughter stopped. It was a tragedy in the blink of an eye. Chapter 1281. Originally, when Rissel was about to launch an attack to fight back, he felt that his body was not listening to him and was suppressed by some mysterious force. His knees could not be straightened, his face was stuck to the ground, and he looked up at Dustless sullenly. "Bastard, this is your doing, right?" Rissel Phoenix roared at Dustless, who was walking towards him. His mouth was wide open as if he wanted to swallow Dustless alive. It was extremely uncomfortable, and he felt that his head was about to explode. "You are not convinced?" Looking down at Rissel, whose eyes were red, Dustless glanced at him indifferently. Then, he immediately lost interest. It was really boring to fight such trash. "Let me go if you have the guts. I will definitely kill you." Rissel shouted stubbornly, and his furious tone was as if he wanted to die together with Dustless. Hearing this, a cold light flashed in Dustless's eyes, and he lifted his right foot again and then ruthlessly stomped down. Boom, boom, boom. A hole appeared on the ground. Rissel's head was stomped into the ground by Dustless. He was like a bug that was being trampled on. The gap between us is like the gap between humans and God. Receiving a fatal blow, Rissel's teeth were all broken. "Bastard, put down Sir Rissel." Rissel's blessings glared at Dustless as they charged at him one after another. It's really surprising that a trash like you has so many fans. Hee, but it's a pity," Dustless said regretfully, and his eyes became colder. Without even moving his hands, Haushika Haki directly erupted. Boom, boom, boom. Monstrous majesty erupted from Dustless's body, as if he was the reincarnation of a god, and the whole world was affected, especially the sky above Horse King Academy. It was shocking, and it turned into a bottomless black hole, as if the sky had collapsed. Plop! Rissel's followers fell to the ground, foaming at the mouth, and without even moving their hands, they were all put down by Dustless. "Let go of my brother." At this moment, an anxious and clear voice was heard, followed by a series of messy footsteps. Dustless sensed that the voice was somewhat familiar. He turned around and saw that it was LaBelle, who was dressed as a maid. She was Rissel's younger sister. "Master, please be magnanimous and let him go." Knowing how terrifying Dustless was, LaBelle put on a submissive expression and spoke in an ingratiating tone. "LaBelle, why did you become like this?" Rissel's eyes widened as he looked at LaBelle in disbelief. She was dressed in maid attire and had a fawning expression on her face. "Let him go? Of course, no problem." Hearing this, Dustless completely retracted his aura, retracting his foot from Rissel's head. Dustless stared at LaBelle for a while, then lifted her jade-white chin and blew a breath of hot air into her ear. "But your brother wants to kill me. This kind of person is too dangerous. It's not impossible for me to let him go, but you have to compensate me for my loss, understand?" Miss LaBelle. After Dustless said this, everyone's gaze was focused on LaBelle's face. Everyone understood what Dustless meant. That LaBelle was shocked. Her face was flushed red, and she looked rather cute. The only disappointing thing was that she was scared out of her wits. She naturally understood what Dustless meant. "Kid, you better get this straight. She's my sister, and she's my relative. Let me tell you, without my permission, she won't marry anyone." Rissel shouted angrily. At the same time, he felt even more aggrieved. Isn't this better? If your sister becomes my woman, even if you cause trouble in the demonic realm in the future, there will be someone to settle it for you. Don't you want to have a demonic king as your backer?" Dustless tempted with a smile. His words made Ji Tsutsong's expression change. The underworld was only so big, and there were already 4 demonic kings. Moreover, Riaz's brother was one of them. If there was another one now, there would be no peace in the future. The strong preyed on the weak, and resources were the exclusive rights of the strong. Gulp! Rissel Phoenix choked. His ferocious expression suddenly calmed down, and his eyes flashed. It was undeniable that what Dustless said was the truth. If they could rope in such a super strong person, it would only be a matter of time before the Phoenix family rose to power. I agree to master's conditions, but you have to let my brother go first. LaBelle could only compromise. In the face of absolute power, no matter how much she struggled, it would all be for naught. I've been waiting for you to say that. Hearing that, Dustless let out a carefree smile. His eyes were looking at LaBelle's hot body. Just as he was about to swallow her alive, he suddenly heard a piercing voice. I object. Ji Tsang stood up and said resolutely. You object? You want to meddle in my business? Just you? Don't be so full of yourself. Dustless snorted. There was a hint of mockery in his tone. If you want to fight me one-on-one, at least call that demonic king sister of yours over. It's best if you don't try to anger me. Otherwise, you'll end up worse than Rissel. At the same time, LaBelle used a magic circle to send her brother, Rissel, and a few of his family members back to the underworld. It would only take a few minutes for them to go back and forth, so they did not dare to delay. After that, LaBelle elegantly walked up to Dustless in her maid uniform. Under the shocked gazes of the crowd, she took the initiative to undress Dustless. Seeing this, not only were Kangna and her kin panicking, even Riaz, who had been calm all this while, had a frozen expression on her face. Is this guy planning to do that in front of us? These are the teachers of the Chariot King Academy. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.